So at this point, I would like to have welcoming all of our elected official guests. So if you're an elected official, please stand. That's right. Elected officials, thank you. For our guest, Senator Richard Cash. And I would also like to welcome veterans. If you're a veteran, would you please stand? And also at this point, since we have an election next month, I would like to have every candidate, candidate for election, please stand, state your name and the office you're running for. Yes, sir.
Greenville, Fire District Commissioner.
Perfect.
My election is not until June 11th, but I'm challenging District 27, Greenville County Council.
And if you will please take note of the meeting calendar. Remember, we have Coffee and Politics, zone meetings, the Republican Party prayer event, October the 28th, at Upstate Christian Assembly, and also phone banking at the HQ and door knocking day. So please mark your calendars. And at this point, I'd like to have Harrison Musselwhite come up and introduce our speaker, first speaker for the evening, Senator Richard Cash.
Your mom said I probably don't need the microphone. Can everyone hear me? Awesome, awesome. Well, here's the small microphone. Thank you, we are pleasured tonight to have one of South Carolina's true patriots from Anderson, South Carolina, but he also represents a small portion of Greenville. And let me tell you what, folks, I've worked with him up there at the legislature. He fights for our South Carolina GOP platform every day, beginning with the right to life for all South Carolinians. Senator Cash is going to speak to us tonight, of course, on the right to life, the most vital of all rights, because without the right to life, we have nothing. But he's also going to speak on transgenderism. I don't know about y'all, but I believe this, and I believe almost everyone in this room does. In the beginning, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And Senator Cash is going to fight to keep it that way and protect the children of South Carolina against castration, whether it be physical or mental. Senator Cash is also fighting for us on the Medical Affairs Committee against DHEC. Folks, I'll say it one more time. We can't say it enough because we can't forget. DHEC lied and South Carolinians died. And Senator Richard Cash is going to help us hold Dr. Joseph Mangala Simmer accountable for his experimentation on the children of South Carolina with these vaccines. And Lord willing, together we will get that evil practice stopped. So without further ado, I would like to introduce one of South Carolina's greatest patriots, Senator Richard Cash.
All right. So I've got several topics to discuss with you, and of course, any one of these topics we could easily spend 30 minutes on, but we're going to try to spend 30 minutes on all of them together. So if I don't get into as great a detail with one of these as you would wish, just keep in mind I'm trying to just unload here some basic information about things that are upcoming without doing a dissertation on each of these subjects. We passed in the South Carolina Senate, I think last year, the medical marijuana bill. I think it was like 26 to 18. It was not a particularly close vote, and I want to give you my take on that because it's not a uniform. It is not the kind of issue in the Senate where the Democrats were on one side and the Republicans were on the other. I mean, it was a bipartisan crossing over, where some Democrats voted against that, and obviously a lot of Republicans at the end of the day, including myself, voted for it. So let me say a few things about medical marijuana. I do believe there's a scientific basis that medical marijuana has efficacy for certain conditions to alleviate suffering, okay? And so if I vote for it again, and I don't know if I will or not, it will be for that reason. Now, the greatest fear that people have is that if we pass medical marijuana, it will inevitably lead to also having recreational marijuana. And I think you have to understand that if not everywhere, just about everywhere that recreational marijuana has been passed by voter referendum. And you cannot pass a law in South Carolina by referendum. If we pass medical marijuana, it's because the legislature passes it and the governor signs it. And the same thing would be true for recreational marijuana. You can't put that on the ballot and ask South Carolinians, do you want to have recreational marijuana? The General Assembly has to vote on it. So let me just, on that topic, make it clear that there's no way you would have the support in the General Assembly to pass recreational marijuana. Now, someone might say, well, what about 10 years from now? What about 20 years from now? Well, I can't answer what about 10 years from now or 20 years from now. I can tell you this, if I'm there, I will do everything I can to stop any kind of attempt to have recreational marijuana in South Carolina. Now, I will say this. I am on medical affairs. I don't know how many hours I've spent studying this issue, listening to testimony. It's a very complicated bill. It's probably 70 pages, all right? And leading up to the whole thing being on the floor, I was asked numerous times by constituents, either because they were against it or because they were for it, fairly obviously, are you going to vote for this, or are you going to vote against this? And I always told them the same thing. I'm not going to make up my mind until I see the bill in its final form. And the reason I say that is I knew when the bill got on the floor, it was going to have a lot of amendments, right? And I wanted to see what it was going to look like when that was all over. Personally, I passed 22 amendments to the bill, okay? And there were a lot more amendments than that were passed in an attempt to make it what I would call the most legitimate medical marijuana bill in the country, most conservative should it pass, that was actually what it was going to be used for. I didn't actually decide how I was going to vote until actually the day of the vote. So if you ask me now, I'm going to give you the same explanation. I don't know how I'm going to vote when that comes to the floor. It's going to depend on what it ends up looking like. I may be for it or I may be against it. But I do believe we will take it up, and the likelihood is that some form of it will be passed and be sent to the South Carolina House. All right, let me move on to the next topic, which is transgenderism. I believe we're going to pass a bill in South Carolina that will make it unlawful to give a child puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or do any kind of surgery for the purpose of sex transition. Now, I will tell you, who that is. When I went to Columbia in 2017, I was actually sworn in on the last day of session. Never crossed my mind that we'd ever be discussing this, folks. All right? It's a sign of the times, for the worse, obviously, that we're even having this discussion. When Bruce Jenner first came out and changed his name and said that he was now a woman, I fairly well just dismissed it out of hand as a publicity stunt, right? But I'm here to tell you, the man is going to have an awful lot to answer for.
Yes, he is. That's right.
Because in my mind, that was the beginning of it in mainstream culture, of this idea coming to the surface that if you identify as the opposite sex, you can become the opposite sex. And very quickly that's filtered down to our young people to where they talk about these kinds of things at school, which might be a good reason to homeschool your children, just saying. I was the subcommittee chairman for this bill. For those of you who understand the process, subcommittee is where we take public testimony. Just as with pro-life bills, most of the public testimony from the medical community is on the wrong side. And we did have a few parents as well who children are transitioning speak up in favor of that, which was really very heartbreaking. Really, to listen to this stuff for hours on end, it's just mind-boggling, quite honestly. And the Democrats, by and large, are going to oppose the bill. In my opinion, the Democratic Party has two cornerstones: abortion and LGBTQ rights expansion. That's the cornerstones of that party. So that being their constituency, as a group, they really don't have much choice but to fight against this bill. All right. I do believe they will lose. I think the only thing, that's important is what we actually pass, making sure that it doesn't get watered down, amended by Republicans. By Republicans.
That's right. That's right.
I was the Senate sponsor of the Save Women's Sports bill, which you would think would have been a non-controversial idea. You would be wrong. I couldn't get the bill a hearing to start with. And then I finally got a hearing and got it out of my subcommittee. And in full committee, the chairman of the committee opposed me in public. Said this bill's not ready for prime time. You can look it up. We videotape most of these meetings. And then something happened that changed the dynamic. Liam, whatever his name is, the guy who said that he was a girl, won an NCAA swimming championship, and a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, it is.
And I want to tell you, after that photo was published and that event had taken place, the Republicans in that body realized that they were about to get in front of a freight train if they didn't get on board.
Amen. Yep.
Now, things being what they are, and the Senate working the way that the Senate does, which is to mean slowly, we didn't pass my bill. Instead, we passed the House bill, which was pretty much identical to my bill. And the person who opposed me in committee voted for the bill.
Mr. Senator, I don't want to interrupt your speech, but I think what you're talking about, this fits right in.
Anyway, when the Save Women's Sports Bill first was being discussed in committee, whether in the House or the Senate, because this happened in the House too, there were certain people who wanted to take the approach that we would decide by testosterone testing whether someone could compete as a girl, even if he was really a boy, because he'd taken suppression pills or whatever. And the other side said, no, how about we just use the birth certificate?
Yes.
You can look it up. I mean, this happened in House Judiciary, I think on 2 occasions. Same argument was being made in the Senate. Besides being wrong-headed, it would have the effect, you know, of now you're actually incentivizing people to take these pills so that they can do what they want to do. Just craziness. Let me talk for a minute about pro-life. A little over a year ago, God did something that I didn't know if I would ever see in my lifetime. And Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Yes.
Now, just being honest, not trying to embarrass anyone, but how many people besides me didn't know if they would ever actually live to see that happen? A lot of you. I didn't know that that would ever happen in my lifetime. We have a senior United States senator telling this state, well, that's kind of settled precedent. I don't know if y'all remember that comment. Kind of settled precedents, you know. We don't need to get back into that. Well, unfortunately, my friends, nothing is settled in the Republican Party right now about the right to life.
That's right. That's right.
Is it?
No.
So the Lord did something that we couldn't do and gave it back to the states. And then all of a sudden, people who had been pro-life their whole career, some of them who had been supporters of the strongest pro-life bill, the personhood bill, which I brought forward in the Senate, some of them had been co-sponsors of the personhood bill in the past. Now they just weren't so sure. Here's what you need to understand. The Republicans in the House passed the Human Life Protection Act by a vote of 83-1 this year. The Republicans in the House, now there was a couple who had leave and a couple maybe who didn't vote. Of those who voted, 83-1 in the House voted for the Human Life Protection Act, which was a much stronger bill than the heartbeat bill and protected life much closer to the point of conception than the heartbeat bill. In the South Carolina Senate, 6 out of 30 Republicans, including all 3 women who serve in the Senate, joined the Democrats to kill that bill. 6 out of 30 in the Senate joined the Democrats to oppose the kind of bill that the Republican Party promised to deliver should they ever get the chance.
That's right. They did. It's in our platform.
It's in the platform.
That's right.
Which leads me to believe at some point in time there will be an attempt to change the platform. Right now in the South Carolina Senate, we're 2 votes short. We've either got to replace a couple of Democrats or a couple of Republicans. Sometimes you don't know who's who. We got to have 2 more votes, folks. I mean, I could go back down there for 4 years and speak in caucus and introduce bills, but if we don't have 2 more votes in the South Carolina Senate, we're not going to make progress, and approximately half of the unborn babies that are currently being killed are going to keep being killed. Now, one more thing I want to say about that I think is important to understand. I think it was 5 out of those 6 senators I've referred to not only killed the human life bill. When the heartbeat bill came to the floor of the Senate this spring, they tried to change it from the heartbeat is gestationally speaking about 6 weeks point in time, which is why it's sometimes referred to that way. They tried to change it to a 12-week bill. Basically, abortion on demand in the first trimester. Here's what you got to understand if this is not your number one topic. Folks, 99% of all the babies who are going to be killed by abortion are killed in the first trimester.
That's right. Yep.
You are essentially no different than the Democrat.
That's right.
If you support 12 weeks, you're no different.
That's right.
Maybe they draw the line at 15 or 18 or 20. 99% of the babies are killed in the first trimester.
That's right.
I don't have any patience with it.
Good. Yes, good. No patience for money.
It grieves me. It grieves me. Let us pray that God would send 1 or more pro-life women to the South Carolina Senate.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got some pro-life women in the House. We need some pro-life women in the Senate.
Amen.
Let me just say I am completely pro-life. I'm going to fight for all of the babies.
Amen. Yeah.
To get back to a couple of simple foundational truths that unless you can convince me they aren't truths, I'm never going to back away from. One is that a human life actually does begin at the point of fertilization.
Yes.
That is when the complete genetic DNA makeup is present.
Right.
That's the point of fertilization.
Yep.
It's a science.
That's the science if you want to follow the science.
That's right.
Now the other part comes from our founding document. We hold these truths to be self-evident. The unalienable rights part, right? You have an unalienable right to
Life.
life. And here's the deal. The Republican Party didn't give that right, and the Republican Party can't take it away. It's a God-given right. And insofar as people who call themselves Republicans are going to promote something else, I'm going to oppose them.
Good.
All right, I could go on, and you know I could. But let's get on to COVID. On September 12th, we held a listening session regarding the COVID pandemic. 3 senators, 3 House members, all Republicans, were on this select committee. And we had to limit the number of speakers and the amount of time they could speak to try to get in people who are experts to speak to us. But we were still there for over 7 hours. The video is on the State House website if anybody wants to watch it. There was a lot of good information presented. I told Yvonne when she called me that I'm not an expert on this. I'm much more comfortable talking about the first 3 subjects. Like I said, I studied medical marijuana probably as hard as anybody in the Senate other than the author of the bill, okay? This is very complicated. This gets down into biochemistry and stuff that I was not very good at in school. All right, so there's a general issue that we have with vaccines, in particular this vaccine, and I think you're probably familiar with it. It's the idea of immunity. The pharmaceutical companies are immune from any kind of lawsuits about this shot, in case you didn't know that.
That's not right.
So, what kind of product do we produce anywhere in this country where the manufacturer can just put it out there, and maybe it's been thoroughly and properly tested, maybe it hasn't. But what keeps them from putting stuff out there that's not really ready? Lawsuits.
Yes, that's right.
Now, I believe in tort reform, and we certainly need it in South Carolina, but there's a place for holding someone responsible for the product they produce.
Yes, that's right.
So that's just a big picture issue. That's something that's decided at the federal level. This immunity thing is a strike against us getting what we all have heard referred to as safe and effective vaccines. Okay? That's a strike against us as far as that goes. Now, on September 12th, which was a Tuesday, we had this meeting. The very next day, our state epidemiologist, Dr. Linda Bell, had a virtual statewide media briefing to discuss COVID-19. And her advice to people was to get a booster.
Gates of hell, no!
So basically, the CDC recommends that updated vaccines be administered to everyone 6 months of age and older.
Yes, definitely.
And our DHEC is on board with that. That's what they recommended.
No.
Now, I think the timing of it being the day after our meeting was coincidental, because it was actually on September 11th that the FDA approved this season's vaccines from Moderna and Pfizer. And so, our meeting happened the next day, the recommendation the day after that. We've still got things to do to follow up on that one hearing. Only one hearing was scheduled. By the way, the senator from Greenville, Senator Corbin, is the one who has spearheaded this whole thing, the one who spearheaded that committee. So, give him some encouragement. So I think we're going to need, hopefully, to have some response to DHEC to try to move them a little bit more towards the position that Florida has taken.
Yes.
Yes.
On September 13th, you see, Florida has a state surgeon general, and they put out an advisory about the booster shot. And what I would call this, and I think what we need in South Carolina, is just informed consent. In other words, this is the state surgeon general telling people, if you are considering taking this vaccine, here are some things to keep in mind, right? So they've got several bullet points here. You know, one thing they tell them in Florida through this advisory is that the vaccines are associated with negative effectiveness after 4 to 6 months.
Yep.
They present a risk of myocarditis and other cardiovascular conditions.
Yep, they sure do.
There's an unknown risk of potential adverse impacts with each additional dose of the mRNA COVID vaccine. Elevated levels of spike protein from the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine persist among some individuals for an indefinite period of time, which may carry health risk. So you may think there should be a lot more on here than that, but at least they're saying something.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, the state surgeon general in Florida said, based on the high rate of global immunity and currently available data, the state surgeon general recommends against the COVID-19 booster for individuals under 65. Individuals 65 and older should discuss this information with their health care provider, including potential concerns outlined in this guidance. So if there's an action point in this for you, it would be to encourage DHEC in South Carolina to put out some kind of information that would act as informed consent for South Carolinians to be aware of if they're going to go get this booster shot. And if they don't know what to put on the sheet, they can just pull up the one from Florida and start there. All right, just a couple more minutes and I'm going to be done. This really does get into some very advanced biochemistry. The most interesting witness we had that day was a professor from USC. In fact, Senator Corbin, when it was all over, referred to him that in some regards this person might be considered a whistleblower. His name is Dr. Philip Buckholz, PhD, Professor of Cancer Molecular Genetics at the University of South Carolina. He studied the mRNA injection vials, 2 of them that came to South Carolina, and he found lots of fragments of DNA present in those injections. Apparently, the gist of this is the vaccine they used in their trials is not exactly the same as the vaccine that was mass-produced. In order to mass-produce the vaccine, they had to use a different process in order to get millions and millions of doses, okay?
Therapy, not vaccine. It is gene therapy.
And in the process of creating this mass vaccine, the DNA contamination took place at that point. Now, he's verified this through their own lab testing. If you want to follow up on this, again, this hearing is on the State House website, and the marker on the tape, if you go to 3 hours, 35 minutes, there's about a 30-minute presentation starting at 3 hours and 35 minutes where Philip Buckholz from USC is addressing the committee. So there's going to have to be hopefully from our committee, some questions to DHEC, because when they responded to everything at the end of this session, it did appear to me that they were unaware of the work that the professor at USC had done, and were a little surprised and caught off guard by that. So I think that's a good thing, and I think hopefully our follow-ups will hopefully help us get in a better direction than where we are right now. So I appreciate y'all having me. I think that's about all my time, but very happy to be here. What a great crowd of people we have here tonight.
Well, I think that was really interesting. I'm sure a lot of you saw today that the people who developed this actually got the Nobel Prize, which I thought was so ironic that you would get a Nobel Prize for developing, for a vaccine that, developed against a bioweapon. So anyway, well, I hope that was great. I really appreciate Senator Cash stepping in at the last minute. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We also have another speaker tonight. We are so fortunate to have Attorney Robbie Childs. He's with the South Carolina Public Interest Foundation, and his topic is earning and spending your taxpayers' money legally and transparently. And for those of you who do not know, he is involved in the lawsuit against the county. So with that, Attorney Childs,
Mr. Dill and I go way back. I'm from the hinterland as well. It's nice to be here, and I appreciate y'all asking me. And I thought about this, and I hadn't really given many speeches about this stuff. I just basically go to court about this stuff. And I was thinking about how it's brought me a full circle in my career, so to speak. Because when I started practicing law early on, I guess I think it was 1989. I was the county attorney for Greenville County and did that for 2 years before I went on to be deputy solicitor for the 13th Circuit. So I did that for a while, worked for 12 bosses, and that was fun. And we got through that pretty well. But I developed a keen interest in the issues that we're dealing with in the litigation against Greenville County. And also it's been part of my career for a long time, which is basically the Freedom of Information Act, the openness of government, and doing things open and not secretly, and also accountability, financial accountability, because there's very little overview that we have about what local government does with money. And it comes down from the State House, and the State House has the state treasurer, and they have all kind of people that look after things. But for instance, Greenville County, there's nobody that there used to be an internal auditor. I think you remember that. But there's nobody that audits what Greenville County does. And they publish an audit every year that's done by, they call an external audit. And it's published by, an accounting company comes in and says, hey, everything we looked at is good. And if you ever sat down and looked at that and said, how does that compare to what the county passed? You'll see that it doesn't, you can't slice it together. It's hard to do. So one of the earliest cases I had as a young lawyer in private practice, I've had 31 reported cases by the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. My first one was Quality Towing versus City of Myrtle Beach. And Mr. Rick Rader with Quality Towing had a tow company in Myrtle Beach, and they hated him. The city did. And they wanted to put him out of business. He was just a thorn in their side, and always was complaining about things like, the right to due process, and they couldn't take him off the rotation list without a hearing, and things like that due process requires. Well, Rick, the city of Myrtle Beach decided to go to just a full, we'll bid on one person that's going to do all the towing from everywhere in the city. If you park on somebody's property, or if you park at a hotel you're not supposed to park at, that company's going to do all the towing in the whole city. And they said, put your bid in and put your recommendation in, and we'll set up a committee, and they'll review everybody, and they'll decide who gets, the 2 or 3 years contract to do all the work within the city of Myrtle Beach. That way we only have to deal with one company. So Rick says, that's good. I think I can make it. I'll give you a good price. And I think I'll win that. And then he called up the members on the committee. There was a committee that was appointed by the mayor. And he called up a couple members of the committee, and one committee member said, well, we haven't voted on you yet. We don't know. We haven't looked at all the offers, and we don't know exactly who we're going to recommend. He talked to another committee member that said, well, we voted you out. And he came to me and he said, well, how do I know any of this? Isn't the committee supposed to have a meeting, and don't they have to publish an agenda, and wouldn't there be minutes of all that? And I said, yes, sir, it should be, just like that. And no, it wasn't. And so Mr. Rainer filed a lawsuit against the city of Myrtle Beach, and it was one of the earlier Freedom of Information cases we had. We set a committee appointed by the mayor, even though it was made up of city employees and things like that, had to publish an agenda, had to keep minutes of their meetings and all that stuff where the public could tell what they're doing. And that case went around for about 3.5 years, and we finally won it with the Supreme Court. And I think Rick's still practicing down there in Myrtle Beach, towing as many cars as he can. Well, then my last reported case was another case that most recently was reported, was the case for Mike Burns, Gary Smith, and Dwight Loftus, which was the lawsuit against Greenville County for their road maintenance fee, and also against their telecommunications fee that you may have, when you haven't seen that again for a long time, it's gone away. But so what happened with that is legislative delegation members that I represented, along with Mr. Dill, and a couple other council members who wanted to be, Willis Meadows, another member of council that wanted to be a plaintiff in that suit. Y'all lasted for a little bit, but not for long. They kicked you off. But they said, how can you impose a user fee when all you're doing is basically imposing a tax? And so the telecommunications fee was intended to gather money together to pay for a dispatch system where all the fire departments in the county could talk to each other. And so the county decided that would be a good thing to do. They wanted to, raise the money through this fee, which they call a user fee. And get this, the user fee was attached to your tax parcel. Everybody in the county paid like $15 per tax parcel for this user fee. And we were like, wait a minute, I'm not using that. I mean, how am I using the telecommunications thing? And they said, well, just to be safer for your property, so if we will, I think that's the way it explained it in the depositions, it would be overall safer in the community. And the Supreme Court, I think, particularly Judge Kidridge, said, that's just not right. And so he struck down that, so that's the last reported case, that they struck down the telecommunications fee that Greenville County imposed, and also the road maintenance fee, which is back on your tax notices. And you can thank the members of the legislature for that. That was a compromise bill that happened where they retroactively reapproved the road maintenance fees. But that's the full circle I've had in my career, 39 years practicing law, of transparency and financial accountability. And I still don't know what they spent the money for the telecommunications fee for. And the road maintenance fee, I haven't seen much work done on the roads lately, but not by the county. And I understand that they're going to impose try to do a penny sales tax for that in the future. And that's going to be fun to watch. So that's really been a fascinating process to watch government and its abilities to think how to raise money and also how not to show how it spends money. And there's not a lot of transparency there, and that's the big concern. I always used to tell, and I have a number of governmental clients, the city of Travis Rest, that's where I'm born and raised. I'm the city attorney for them. I represent a couple of political subdivisions up there. But I tell them, why not be more open? When the Freedom of Information Act says you can close a meeting and have an executive session. Why do it unless you really have to? You know, if it's an example of it, which got me started back in this case, was an issue with Paris Mountain and an issue with a grant. And so that thing in Paris Mountain started out with a name. They called it Project Legacy. They called it Project 13 for a while. But what it was a contract to sell a piece of real estate on Paris Mountain. 150 acres. Mr. Hughes was going to sell it to eventually the Parks and Recreation. And so that thing went through 3 or 4 committees with a secret name. Nobody knew what it was. It was just Project 13 and Project Legacy. Then all of a sudden, at second reading, it came out to be Project Legacy, which was the shallow ridge acquisition for the state Parks and Recreational District. And so then the neighbors got concerned because where are they going to put the entrance for the addition to the park? And that was going to be on Altamont Road, so everybody there is still real concerned about that. And so I've got a little group that's very concerned about that, been concerned about it for a while. The park expansion is a great idea. It's just, you know, don't put a big entrance on Altamont Road is primarily their concern. But that got a whole group of people talking about the budget process and secrecy in the government and how it's behaving itself and what they can do to kind of shine a light on it. So when this annual budget came around this year, we kind of watched, and my wife's here, she can talk. We were watching it on the Zoom to see what the council meeting. I swore off council meetings for the 2.5 years I was county attorney. I said I never want to go back to those. But I watched it and I said, that's just very curious how you do that. And they had people that weren't there voting.
Yeah.
They were voting by audio, and I was like, well, I know COVID changed some things. That's okay with me. Zoom's probably okay, but I don't know about, you know, just voting over the phone, basically phoning it in. And so that kind of got me concerned. And then I got to looking, and my clients got to looking at the notices of public hearings that they published for this thing. For these 2 annual budgets, they do biennial budgets, and they do 2 years. And so the first year, they actually do a normal budget, right? You know, you have your estimates for this year, you calculate your revenues and expenses, and then for the second year of the biennial budget, you guess at what your revenue will be the second year, and you basically take the year off, so that way you just do a budget every other year. And so I'm like, well, how can you really do that? I mean, how can you get away with that? Don't you have to adjust the budget a lot during the year? Because, you know, by the second year, you're way off probably. But I got to thinking about that, and I said, well, I remember when Man Batson was the chairman of Greenville County Council, and I was hired, and Man Batson was a Democrat, and I was hired by both parties to be the county attorney. It was 1989, I think January, February. And so George Bumar took over as chairman. Loved George to death. He was a wonderful man. And so his that first council meeting I was county attorney for, there were like 3 supplemental appropriations hearings we had. And I remembered that, and I thought back, well, now, this thing with county council now, they don't have any supplemental appropriation hearings. They don't do that. And what's wrong? Well, why are they not doing that? And so I went back and looked at this. The first hearing I was appointed at, there was a supplemental appropriation for $22,665 for a fence at the Bay Area EMS, purchase of a PC and a printer for the county administrator's office. Get that, a PC and a printer. EGA monitoring card for the finance department, a printer for county council office, and a fax machine for county square. All that was together, and it came up for vote. And someone had said, do we have to vote on all these together, Mr. Childs? They asked me that. And I said, I don't think so. You can divide the question. You can always divide the question. Parliamentary procedures. And so they did. And so they voted in the bay fence for EMS. They voted down the PC, the personal computer and printer for the county administrator. they voted in the ETA auditor and card, and they voted down the fax machine for County Square.
Wow.
And they said that the planning commission already had a fax machine and they didn't need another. So that's the way it was. And when I came on, Enos Fant was just leaving to go to the South Carolina legislature. That's how long ago that was. And Fletcher Smith came in a couple months later. So that's really kind of my background about how the government works. But then you don't know how it spends its money. And the problem is there's not a lot of transparency or accountability there. Because what it appears to be, and this is all matter to a lawsuit, is that they're not following procedures for when you modify the budget. The Attorney General a long time ago said if you're going to modify the budget, you have to pass an ordinance to amend it. Because it is an ordinance when you first pass it. So the idea is you can't amend an ordinance set by an ordinance. And so if you transfer funds from one area to another of county spending, you have to do that publicly and you have to do that with an ordinance. Now that's different than a supplemental appropriation, which is also another type of ordinance, that you do when you have additional revenue that you didn't previously anticipate in your budget. And that you now want to spend that, like maybe COVID money. And you've got like $9 million in COVID money. What do you do with your Greenville County nowadays? You just spend it. You don't do a supplemental appropriation. Yeah, you just spend it. That's what you do. But the whole idea behind the legislature's philosophy about all that, which I think they've applied more to local government than themselves when they thought about these things, is you have to have 3 readings of an ordinance. You have to have a public hearing about what your budget's going to have in it. You have to advertise that. And the legislature's done a good job of putting in the public hearing notices what you have to specify when you're going to adopt the budget. It's a whole detail. You have to compare it to your prior year, show what kind of variance you had from before, and you have to have 3 readings and a public hearing. And that's a good process if it's followed thoroughly with the county. According to some, this time, they couldn't even get into the public hearings to talk about the budget. There were lots of complaints about that. The public notices were different than the actual ordinances that they adopted. The ordinance in first reading for the 2 budgets, both ordinances, were different than the public hearing notices that went out. In other words, if you went there expecting a certain dollar figure to be in that ordinance at whatever, at second reading, it wasn't that dollar figure, it was a different number. It entirely was. And so people started asking questions, and council members raised a question. They said, well, what if all these figures are different than the notice of public hearing? I heard that said by Shaw. And the response was, it's okay, we expect it to be amended along the way, but what he meant was, these numbers that we're dealing with here today aren't the same numbers. You wouldn't start out with the same numbers. We started out with different numbers, and that's wrong. And we should have another public hearing. And that's what we think they should have done. So we've got the biggest tax increase we've had ever, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
And we've got legislators who are angry about that, and rightfully so. And we hope the courts will deal with us appropriately. Our concerns are a multitude of concerns that we've raised in our complaint, but primarily compliance with state law as far as passing the budget, complying with the notice requirements, things like that. There's also allegations of violations of the Freedom of Information Act. And there's an allegation of a secret meeting that was held right before a vote, and we're working on that. We need to take some depositions about that. But there's a lot of Freedom of Information violations associated with that. We know for sure minutes aren't done on a timely fashion, so because we went back to look and read the budget, we wanted to read the budget workshop minutes, didn't have them. I asked to make sure if they had them, and they said, we'll have them soon. And I think they published them in August, which is a good while after the budget meeting in May, I believe it was. So they're not complying with what we believe with the Freedom of Information Act. So they got to keep regular minutes. You should be able to see what they're doing online. You should really educate yourself, look at the agendas, look at the ordinances that they're introducing. All that's online. That's beautiful to have. They don't have physical accountability online. If you want to check and see, you know, what the non-departmental contract expenditures are for this month, you can do that. You'll see that certain people get a certain amount of money here and there. You'll see what contracts county writes checks for, and you can look at that. That's in the finance department. Some accountability issues are there. It's set. It's only like this month and last year this month. And so you can't really look at the overall year and kind of gauge it and evaluate it. Look at the audits that come out. They're also in the finance department. They're there posted on the webpage. And read the financial notes. Nothing else is worth it. You can look at the audits and the numbers all you want. Read the financial notes and it'll tell you whether or not they spent more money than was appropriated. And it's there. And I think it's financial note 2 in the financial notes is what you look for. Educate yourself on that. I don't know how the government can spend more money than is appropriated for them. If I had an accountant for my firm who spent more money than I designated for supplies, you know, they could be arrested or they'd certainly get fired for spending more money than I authorized. But it seems like it's okay for local government to spend more money than they're authorized. And that's got to stop. They got to be some accountability for that. There ought to be a lot of accountability for that.
Yes.
And I feel like if you spend public money and an ordinance says you only got $5,000 to spend and you spend $50,000, somebody ought to look into that real deeply, because that is a violation of an ordinance. That's a law that the county's passed. But then somebody's spending more money than they're authorized to do. And I think that's really a problem. I was shocked when I went back and read some of the minutes of council meetings about this. There was one in there where the administrator talked about transferring money for, I guess it was the transit authority, and he wanted to do that and get approval by email. And I was like, you can't take an official action or vote by email. You can't, you know, vote by telephone. You can't phone it in. And so y'all look at it, educate yourself on what's going on locally, get involved, demand transparency. You know, the Freedom of Information Act is the minimum the government has to do. It's the minimum they have to do. It's not the maximum. Everybody thinks, well, that could be exempt from disclosure. I'm not going to disclose it. Well, the fact is, it's only exempt if you want it to be exempt. You know, if it qualifies under the statute, that's fine. You don't have to disclose it. But if there's no good reason not to disclose it, go ahead. You know, there's no reason. Just because you can have an executive section on something doesn't mean you have to have one. I mean, if you want to discuss, like the thing with Paris Mountain, there was a contract signed a year before that thing ever came up. And so there was no way discussions of grants going to affect that contract. There's no reason why they should call it by Project 13 or Project Legacy. They only did it because they could. And the fact is you know, if you don't have to do it, let the public know what's going on. You can't be harmed by that. You cannot be hurt by letting the public know what you're doing. The only way you're going to get hurt is by not letting them know what you're doing. So presently, our lawsuit has been removed to federal court. And I thought that was interesting, but we'll talk about it later. Which is kind of interesting because I won't say too much about that. But I expect to see it back in state court soon. And we're working on that this week. And it was kind of surprising that the county wanted it to be heard by a federal judge. And I don't think they really do. But we'll find out. But follow it. You know, it might be like the fee that we did for the county before. We might have to go all the way to the Supreme Court to get that right. But that's okay. That's what we're here for. And the foundation that we're also involved with is the same foundation that has been out there forever. Mr. Ned Sloan's foundation, and he's passed away. But it's a public interest foundation, and it does things all over the state. It's an interesting group. If you look at all the cases, they've done probably 50 cases against the government for various things all over the state where they find, they're misspending money or they're not following their own procedures or anything else that they happen to see. It's a very good group, and it's still in active litigation. They're one of our parties, and we appreciate them getting involved. If you're interested in helping those people out, you can make donations to them. They're charitable, tax deductible. You can't direct it to our case, but you can certainly let them know you're from Greenville County. And I appreciate y'all inviting me, and I'll let y'all go from there. I know we've got another expert here on the freedom of information. Or at least experience, right?
Thank you very much, Attorney Childs. So my question is, while the court case is going on, can the tax increase still happen?
Yes, it can. It can. And so there's an anti-tax, anti-injunction policy most of the courts have where you can't enjoin the imposition of taxes. And of course, the legislatures and the government, the government doesn't want you to enjoin them, so they pass laws that says you can't. But so there's an anti-injunction act. Generally not. It's probably the same problem we're going to find out is when we get to the end of this road. We say, well, the tax was improperly raised. Are you going to refund it? And that's another battle entirely. And that's still going on behind the scenes. Several across the state with the road maintenance fee. And basically my people who I represented with the county fees, they didn't want to be responsible for a tax increase. So they wanted to say, just do what you can to get that back to the people, and then nothing happened.
Thank you.
My name is Roman. Check 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
I hear.
Testing 1, 2, 3. No, you left out a very important person that runs county council, which is Cornell.
Right.
When Tony Trout was alive, unfortunately, he passed away lately. But he was on to the fact that county council was messing with the road money. And that's why we can't get anything done with roads. And unfortunately, Tony went about it the wrong way.
Yes, he is.
And he, but he did put some software in there to track him, and he got caught. He also, Connell got caught with a lot of porn in his computer, and the judge was pretty upset that county council chose, and Joe, you were part of that. You didn't do anything. Oh, did you? I didn't think you did, but that's okay.
I think probably their concern was using illegal evidence against the administrator, basically.
Well, but he is the problem. Just like in public schools, the superintendents run the show and the elected officials are rubber stamp. County council just rubber stamp whatever Connell says.
Yep.
That's how we're in $1 billion building now.
Right. That's right.
It's more than that, I think.
But it is, but I'm being nice, and which is rare for me. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out because without him, we might get some accountability, if you will.
Well, there's a reason chief executives usually are limited to, 2 terms and things like that. Is because they get to be very powerful after a while.
And he does that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question.
Okay.
Julie Hershey, Ware Place. What was the name of that foundation again that Laird and that Ned Sloan used to be a part of? And
It's the South Carolina Public Interest Foundation.
Public Interest
South
Foundation.
Carolina Public Interest Foundation.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, guys, we're going to move along with the agenda here. I'm going to steal your copy because I think Rob took mine. We're going to move along with the agenda, but I did see another elected official come in. oh, not elected, but a candidate for elected official, and, you know, maybe that's a prophetic. Where's Randall? Where's Randall Fowler? Did I see you? Did he step out? Yeah. So he's another candidate. He's running against Dorothy Down. And I just wanted you guys to at least see what he looks like. Deb's done a great job of setting up all of his, you know, so just say hi to everybody, Randall. And at this point, I would like to have Joe give our credentialing report.
Folks, out of the 141 organized precincts, we have 115 precincts present.
Awesome.
And that's because 7 were proxies. So we had 108, but then with the 7 proxies, that brought us to 115 for tonight. Thank you.
At this point, I would like to have Mary Wheeler do our treasurer's report. Mary?
I have to hold this. I'll hold this, but you'll get a half a treasurer's report because I'm Italian and I only have one hand. So it's gonna have to be quick. All right, so I guess it's up there. So our balance on hand at the beginning of September, this is the October report for transactions in September, and it started at $5,054.82. We have membership dues that came in from Anadot, $461.40, and by cash or check, $90. We have convention t-shirt, I guess that would be fundraising, and that is $73.70. And then promotional materials, which are the door hangers. Everybody who came and got some door hangers, it was a donation of whatever they cared to give, and we got $100 from those door hangers. So it's a total income of $725.10.
Mary, those numbers aren't matching up with what you're saying.
That's the August.
We
got August. Had the wrong month.
Yes, September. It's the October Treasurer's Report for the September, the month of September.
Those numbers?
Yeah, we got it. Now we're cooking.
Just kidding. Lord, people. This is why I drink. No, I mean. So expenses. $1,250 for rent utilities as usual, and $50.50 for the general liability insurance. And we have $150 that we spent for the venue rental for the jambalaya dinner that I think got moved to November. It was coming in October and it got moved because it didn't get, I guess, the county park until then. So total expenses $1,450.50 leaves us with a balance on hand of $4329.42. And here we go, folks. As always, we would love any donations you care to give us for tonight. A basket will be passing around, and I guess I'm too calm. It's Harrison's turn. Good to see you all.
If you are Scott here, thank you, Scott here.
Madam Chairman, point of inquiry on Mary's report, please. I have a question. So, Mary, your the monthly numbers, the individuals total out correctly. Sean Miller, President of Frohawk. The monthly numbers, the individuals add up to the totals. The year-to-dates are off for both August and September, unless I'm missing something.
I've had somebody else contact me about that, but I have to go through those numbers. So, can you email me?
Yes.
If you see a problem, email me. I have my year-to-date numbers, I did them, I had somebody else check me, and we came up with the same numbers. So whatever you're saying, just email me, let me know. I have no problem rechecking.
Okay.
Get back to you on it.
Good evening again, Patriots. Let me tell you why I'm up here. I'm up here to tell you what we, the people, are doing. Who is the Greenville County GOP? We are patriots in action, folks. We don't just talk, we put action with our words, and we've been doing it all year long. This week, I'm going to tell you what's going on. My friend Angie Fisher called me here. Anybody live in Simpsonville or anybody been to Harrison Bridge Road and Fairview Road in Simpsonville? Well, let me tell you what they were trying to do. The planning commissioner was trying to slip in a 2,000 apartment complex right there. Publix is here, CVS is here, just behind Target. Folks, that would have been an extra 4,000 cars a day right there at that little intersection. That was a life hazard. So guess what we, the people, did? Remember, you're part. All of us together are we the people. Angie called me. I called Janice Curtis, the former mayor, maybe soon to be mayor of Simpsonville. I think Tim Pinkerton got in on this. We called Rick Bradley. He got in on this. We called the planning commissioner. And we literally, well, I said it. I don't think they did. I said, gates of hell, no. I said, that is a hazard to the people of Simpsonville. And we can't have it. And we will show up in force Tuesday night if you don't stop it now. Well, guess what? Now there is going to be no new apartment complexes. Now, the other reason we are here, folks, is holding our Greenville County Council accountable to we, the people, and to our South Carolina GOP platform. And we're working with our legislators, with attorneys, and we're hitting them from all sides, and it's never been done. And guess what? We just might get that tax increase. It might have to go through court to get repealed, but who's doing it? We, the people of the Greenville County GOP. I hope you have all put in. I'm putting some in the basket. Y'all know proof is in the pudding. This is how we get it done. One last thing. I talked to, our lovely chairman, Mrs. Yvonne Julian, and I got a commitment out of her tonight before we started. First of all, do y'all like meeting here in the Hilton? I know I do. Well, let's do it up. So we got a commitment from our chairman, Ms. Yvonne Julian. She said if we raise $1,500 tonight, so if some of y'all need to run back and put more in the basket, let's do it. Our next in-person meeting will be back here at the Hilton, as only the Greenville County GOP can do, folks. Let's do it. Do I need to pass the basket again, folks? Well, let's have it again. Let's do it. Well, hey, this is how they do it in church. Let's pass it. I don't want to be outside in January, folks. Let's get her done. All right, let's keep passing it on down. We got some from the chairman. Oh, we got some from Mike Bowden. Come on, folks. Paul Gorski's digging in there. That's a miracle, folks. I got another miracle from Gregory Payne. Yes, you are. I'm just giving you a hard time.
You're making those into digital dollars.
Well, keep passing that basket around. Thank you, as always, Harrison, for your inspirational fundraising. At this point, I'd like to ask for approval of the minutes. Does anyone have any corrections on the August minutes? If not, state your name. Chair recognizes Sean.
Miller, President
Okay.
Frohock. May I ask, Madam Chairman, that the meeting minutes be amended to reflect the...
Yeah, we can't. Can you pull it up, Sean? Okay.
May I ask that the meeting minutes be amended to reflect the friendly amendment that Stephen Brown made and accepted by Kelly Wood regarding that the minutes be provided to the body for consideration and that it would be up to the body to decide whether or not they would approve the minutes.
This is August. It's not the special meeting.
It's not,
No,
okay.
no, these are August. See, we're asking for an approval of the August business meeting minutes. Okay. We have a motion? Second? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Who's second? Okay. Okay. All right. So now we can move on to the special September special meeting minutes. Did you send those? September special meeting minutes?
Sean Miller, President, Frohawk, so sorry, I'll repeat that. My EC is here.
What, you're not the EC for?
Correct.
Okay.
Would you like my EC to present?
Yes, that would be preferred, please, thank you.
Madam Chairman, I thought you ruled at our special meeting that we always
Yeah.
had a tradition of letting presidents speak.
Well,
Did you not-
that was a one-time ruling. The gentle lady is out of order. The gentle lady is out of order. Can you please state your motion for the business meeting? This is the motion that Mr. Sean Miller wanted to introduce. Can you please state that motion? In your name and.
Why is the gentle lady out of order?
Because we have a motion, we have a motion, we have business pending, and she came up to present that business for her precinct. So please read the motion.
My name is Tiffany Mock. I am the EC of Frohawk. The minutes for the special meeting in September, Mr. Stephen Brown presented a friendly amendment to Ms. Kelly Wood, and she accepted that, and that wasn't caught in the minutes. Wait. Yeah. Hold on. The wording in motion 3, the final, includes the friendly amendment that he made.
Where's your copy of the friendly amendment?
Ready?
Yeah. We just missed it.
It was really quick and totally, yeah, and totally easy to miss, so.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion to approve those minutes with the, we have, okay. So what has been submitted is a friendly amendment that reads as follows. I move that the chairman provide the minutes including but not limited to September and October 2022 in our special meeting on January 31st, 2023 to the body for consideration prior to our next regularly scheduled business meeting on October 2nd, and that we will up to the body to approve those minutes at this meeting. I also move that going forward, all minutes be posted within 15 days of approval and retained in an electronic form on the GCRP website, as well as in paper form at the GCRP headquarters, so that members may review them as desired. So was this is the friendly. Yes, so we're referring to our notes from the special meeting minutes. So this language is included in these minutes. So it's included in the minutes that the secretary sent out.
No, the special amendment, the friendly amendment that he made, it was very subtle. And so what he changed is that it would be provided to the body for consideration. Prior to that he added that word, okay, very simple, for consideration, and then that it would be up to the body to decide if they would approve the minutes.
But that's Robert's rules. We
Up to the, yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I'm just saying, that's once he made the friendly amendment and she accepted it, that became the motion. So the motion.
Yeah, okay, so are you done?
So, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So Chair recognizes Elizabeth Jean Scott.
I'm sorry, with Greenville 21, yes
Right.
ma'am. I just wanted to mention that Robert's Rules actually has changed recently. You're doing exactly what she has asked for,
Right.
and that is fine, and I have no problem with us doing that. But per Robert's Rules currently, we ask for amendments, and then the body votes on the amendments, and then we just file them as amended. But it's all kind of the same thing, so it doesn't really matter if you want to do a motion. But per Robert's Rules, that's just an extra step.
Right,
Okay.
right, so it's the same thing. So, okay, so do we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I make the motion to approve the minutes, Bill Wells Duncan.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. The second was? Okay. Gary Tuso. All in favor? Aye. Okay, all, okay, have it. No, all opposed? All right, excellent. At this point, we will then move to my chairman's report. And so it'll be real quick, because we had a busy night. So there are 3 topics.
Don't we have other minutes to review?
No.
January, September, October?
No. No.
But that was in the motion that we passed on September 24th.
Those, so the chair finds that part of the motion moot because those minutes have been,
Madam Chairman, you can't find a motion that the body passed moot.
well, the point is that those minutes, except for October 22nd, have been previously approved. So that is a dilatory motion. So the October 22nd minutes were not approved because we had no business meeting after October. There was no business meeting until January, then we went to reorg. So those are the only minutes that are lacking in approval. There is a video for those, so if the body would like to exclude the October 22nd minutes from this motion, we can do that. But the others have been previously approved.
When were the September minutes approved?
They were approved at an October meeting.
But not according to the minutes.
You just said we didn't have an October meeting.
Well, we had a meeting in October, but that was the last one.
But
Watch the video. So are you asking that the October minutes be removed from this motion?
I'm just asking that the motion that the body passed by majority vote on September 14th be followed. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, well, if we want
That's the motion that we would approve the minutes today.
Right.
And so we need to do that. We need to proceed with that motion that the body passed by majority vote.
Well, and that was the motion that we just voted on, was to approve all of those minutes.
No, you approved August and the special meeting. Our motion stated that
Oh,
we
I
would
see.
approve
Okay.
the minutes
Well-
from September and October of 2022, and January 7th and January 31st.
This is out of order. Those minutes have been previously approved. We will table this discussion. We will refer to committee, but we will not pursue those minutes at this time.
So we are not going to follow the motion that the body approved by majority vote on September 14th and do what the body voted to do today.
Well, yes. Well, the chair recognizes Elizabeth Jean Scott. Yes, we will.
Well, I know that I was not credentialed that day. I was listening from the back.
Yes.
And this is not something that I ever understood to be part of that intention.
Yes.
If that was part of that intention, then I would like the person who made that motion to come forward and say as much, and then let's have a discussion from there. That would make more sense. Was that Stephen Brown? Is that correct?
I presume so. I do not personally remember. Was it Stephen Brown that made that
Brown in the
motion?
room? All right, I would like to ask that we table this today.
Exactly.
And if Stephen
We have a
Brown would
motion
like
to
do it
table.
Next time, then we can have that discussion, but we will need 30 days to go review old minutes if we're going to start over again anywhere, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you making a motion to
I'm
table?
making a motion to table this.
Can we have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Andrew, you know who I am, so
Thanks. Okay, oh yes, the nays are opposed? Well, the motion has been moved and seconded and affirmed. Are there any nay votes? So the ayes have it, but, yeah.
Point of clarification. So I was at that last meeting, the EC body voted for that motion, and you just told us you're not doing it, correct?
No, that is not what we said.
You are not going to follow the EC
No.
body's instructions?
No, we are tabling the motion because there was confusion
You had
over.
a deadline, I suppose. I think it was.
The gentlelady is out of order. The
No, I'm
gentlelady.
not out of order. I'm
Yes.
asking you.
Yes, a little, the gentlelady
You
is
had
out
a
of
deadline,
order.
correct?
Yes, please take
Did you
your
have a
seat.
deadline?
We have tabled that motion due to confusion. The
Wait,
person who
have
made the motion, the
clarification.
lady.
Did you have a deadline and did you meet it?
Deadline.
To follow the motion, did you have a deadline and did you meet it?
We had a deadline to supply particular information which were met. The person who made this motion is not here tonight, so we
You
are unclear.
serve under the authority of the EC
The
body.
gentlelady,
Please
would
remember
you ask that you please take your
Under
seat?
the authority of the
We would,
EC
you
body.
would ask that you please take your seat, thank you. The chair recognizes Andrea Brunner. Okay, gotcha. Thank you very much. So we will now move to my chairman's report. And the three topics are what we did well, the gaps, and what we need to do better, as well as looking ahead. So what we did well so these are a few highlights, and the point I'd like to make is that this is not meant to exclude or diminish any particular group or committee, but there were certain groups or committees whose work really stood out since we've had the last meeting. So I think the events, the Meet Me at the Library was a tremendous success, as was the International Potluck. I'd like to give a shout out to the Candidate Recruitment Committee who has worked their, tails off. They've done an amazing job. And I would also like to point out that at our state SCGOP meeting this past Saturday, the point was made by the director that we need to be working now on candidates for next year. So they understand the work that we did. We received a lot of applause for the boards and commissions effort. So thank you, candidate recruitment. The next slide, what we did well was the pro-life committee. Where's Carrie? So they have been, they have literally been everywhere, and honestly, I was so disappointed that the state planned its executive meeting, on the same day that the pro-life event took place. But they have done an amazing job with tabling in all these events and introducing, the little baby red elephant, save the baby humans. So I think that's been great. So the next slide, then, if you can move on, is the zone and precinct meetings. People are doing an amazing job with really bringing this work down to where it needs to be, because these business meetings are just that, they're business. We don't get to do a lot of the grunt work or details. So those business meetings and zone and precinct meetings are really working well. And then the next one is, so I don't know if all of you know this, but there are people in the upstate who were rewarded by the Trump administration because they did so well in phone banking. So it was Olga Lisinska, where are you, Olga? It was Becky Perdue McLaughlin, who's actually in Spartanburg. It was Terry Wicker, and also Paul Faviolata. They were all asked to basically come to the Trump event in Somerville because they had done so well with phone banking. So, and I would ask that you do not forget to, when you're submitting your data, and we'll do a report on that this week on your voter contacts, please don't forget to submit those phone banking efforts as well. So, okay, so that's what we did well. And then the last was responded to the calls for action. Volunteers needed. So last time Nikki said we really did need people for office support. So that has worked out great. The office is open basically like a regular business office, and we've got people manning that. You can see the folks there. There's a number of people on the team, so that has also worked out well. So thank you, Nikki, and the office support team. So, so one of our last calls to action was because we did not have anyone to chair election integrity. That's a very, very difficult topic. It's huge. And so we, asked people to volunteer for that. So we worked out to get Scott here, and then he's got two teammates, Mark Lawrence and Margaret Sinclair, I think, so they're the co-chairs with him. And that has been great. And, we have our little Republic hat that, when Scott gets frustrated, he can sort of, that's his, what do you call it? It's his emotional support. So thank you again all for stepping up. So these are some more of the folks in the office. So the other thing is, I think, and we'll talk about that in more detail, was this, people basically responded for this short notice business meeting. I mean, that was a real, we'll get into a little bit more detail about that. But, that was also, I think, something we did well. And then, last but not least, the office committee really helps everything of the above work. So if we go to the next slide, gaps, what we need to do better. So everybody, got a lot of Trump signs, but our first election is November 7th, and we've got to elect Randall Fowler. And Knox White. So even if you do not live in the city, there's nothing that's stopping you from stepping in and helping these two candidates. And the last thing that I would say is, please, if you know candidates or people who do want to run, please coordinate with candidate recruitment, because they are trying to assemble all of this information. And so now, what are our gaps? So let's talk about the business meetings and the negative feedback. We did get negative feedback at the August meeting about no opportunities for new business. But what we received a lot more negative feedback about was the timing and location for the September 14th special meeting. The agenda, there were some questions about why we were even bringing up the issue of some of the topics on the special. Is it okay? Yeah.
Just move it a little way.
Well, is that better? Is that better?
Away from your mouth.
Is that better?
Maybe if I fix you.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, is that better? Okay, good. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, great. Is that better, you guys? Okay.
Yeah, don't face it and let him adjust.
Okay. I'll read that in a second. So the other issue was the agenda for the special, the September 14th special meeting. There was a lot of questions about why we're wasting, time on these topics. The motions for the special meeting were not supplied in advance. And as an example, the SCGOP actually supplied, when they mailed out our meeting agendas, they actually had their new business of what we were going to talk about. And Robert's Rules actually recommends that for complex motions and resolutions, that is best practices. There was voter intimidation and cheating at the special meeting. People not qualified to vote were actually yelling in the back of the room. We actually had evidence that there were actually 3 ballots that people tore the paper in half to try to have extra votes.
And what side was that, Yvonne? Yours.
Well, we have the evidence on, so that, actually, and what, so the other interesting thing was that we learned quite by accident that, that the actual meeting had been planned. I give the Sergeant at Arms committee the authority to maintain order during this meeting. They have the authority to remove individuals from the meeting. They also have the authority to appoint new Sergeant at Arms as needed to help maintain order. So let's get through this slide. The other was that we actually found out quite by accident that the GCR, that the meeting was.
Madam Chairman.
I will recognize you after I finish. Can you go to back to that slide, please, because there's another point to finish.
Point of order, Madam Chairman. Your role as the chairman is to be impartial and to facilitate the meeting.
This is the.
You are the those who call the special call meeting, and it is inappropriate conduct of
This is
becoming a
feedback. If
chairman.
you refer to the title of topic of the slide, it is feedback from other ECs about the meeting.
Would you like feedback from the ECs that
We-
called the meeting and were
Because
saying
that was, no, and that
letters
is
of
not the
intimidation?
This slide is covering this.
Madam
I
Chairman.
reported the feedback that you.
Your
talked
behavior
about.
is conduct unbecoming.
Please.
Your behavior is out of order. You are to be
You
impartial.
are out of order.
You are.
Out of order. Please take your seat. The last item that we want to address was that GCRP members' emails addresses were shared illegally. We will be reporting that to the state party because people receive spam emails, particularly from the Times Examiner, as well as, so there was some mystery email that was received that people got addressing this meeting. So those are issues. The GCRP database is not to be used for your private business or to promote your private agenda. You sign a database agreement. So we will be reporting to the state party that many of us received those emails. And then, so the last gap that we had, which we did not, due to other issues, get a chance to work on the committee highlights newsletter that we'd like to put forward. So the last question I'm going to ask is, do you know the EC job you signed up for, and are you doing it? So we go to the next slide. So the mission, and this is from the mySCGOP, our job is to promote our platform and elect candidates who will support it. That is the job. This is not your private business that you invested money in. You do not have a staff. The job, you do not get to decide what the body does. We have been told what we want, what to do. And we follow the rules and we do things that will support that effort. It is not, we will not get Randall or Knox-White elected because we make sure that all our minutes are in order. If that's so, and if you go to the next page, I'm going to step over here so I can read my checklist because these, I'm going to make sure we go through this checklist because these are the types of things that leaders should be doing to do this precinct job. So you know how you have good communication skills, and these are typical business type skills. You have good communication skills, you write like a business letter, or you do, or if you're going to do a longer communication, it's organized and well thought out. That will help your reader. The other thing you need to think about is, have you explained to your precinct members how they can contribute to our county party? What role does your precinct play in the county party in helping Republicans grow membership and supporting candidates? Are you an information resource for members of your precinct? Joe Centeno did a great meeting where he talked about being a baby SEAL or a SEAL team leader. So as a leader, your job is to help your precinct, not to expect other people to always be helping you. Are you acknowledging and supporting those in your precinct who are doing the work of our party and not allowing yourself to be bogged down by non-contributors? You understand the purpose of business meetings. We need to run our business meetings more like the state runs theirs and the way that the state house runs it. You understand that this is what we are meant to do, so we need to have that sort of decorum. Are you filling your own skill gaps and providing opportunities for your precinct members to do the same, so that we're building our community of grassroots conservative leaders? Are you looking for ways to contribute talent or funds or to turning out more Republican voters in our upcoming elections and growing the GCRP and not living off the contributions of others? You treat fellow members of the GCRP as you would a church member or a work colleague.
Yes.
You are helping your precinct members build relationships in the neighborhood so that people feel an obligation to vote when asked to do so. And lastly, you do not have a personal agenda that conflicts with the goals of the GCRP to elect platform Republicans, increase primary turnout, and grow the party. Is that better? So there's no way to judge other people's motives. Yes. Okay, gotcha. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, guys. Good job. Yeah. Yeah, so there is really no way to judge other people's motives. So when you ask yourself, why are people not doing the job that they signed up for, you think, is it more difficult? This slide is from my previous presentation, but a lot of times people are not doing the work because it's more difficult than they thought, they don't want to. There's a lot of reasons. But you know, when you look at a lot of those types of issues, you have to sort of examine the reason, because otherwise you're not going to accomplish what you set out. So are you this kind of precinct leader who is not concerned about productivity around votes? If you're not, you have an issue. And if you go to the next slide, the other possible thing that we have to face is, as Senator Cash said, there's a lot of things that's not decided in the Republican Party. There's a lot of things that's up for question. And specifically this battle between the establishment politicians and grassroots. That is a reality. It's the elephant in the room. You can talk about, you know, we can talk about unity all we want, but the reality is that there are people who are opposed to grassroots political activities, and there are people who are not very happy that we have censured the county council. So the issue is, how do people who are in that position, what do they do? And obstructionism is a typical way to react. It is a standard political tactic, and if you read through there, you will see that it involves things like asking for extra information, or things that are essentially bog down the body so that you're not doing the work that you're intended. So that is a standard, as we learn for ourselves politically, we have to realize that this sort of thing happens. So if you go to the next slide, this is an interesting one from Mitch McConnell in 2019. He says that across the first 2 years of each of the 6 presidents preceding President Trump, the Senate only had to hold 24 total cloture votes or nominations. That's a procedural step that unlocks up or down votes. And he says when President Trump took office, they had to hold 128 of these same votes. So the whole purpose of that was to bog him down, to not allow him to accomplish anything. So the reality, and I will tell you a story that Elizabeth Jean Scott told me today about a similar obstructionism with the Republican Women's Federation, where 3 men that wore dresses were actually elected to this federation, and Elizabeth and her team actually had to battle at the last minute to have these people removed. So the reality is that obstructionism is a standard political technique. I'm not accusing anybody of that, but my job as chairperson is to listen to the minority, but to make sure the will of the majority is executed. Yeah. Say that is, if you are a Republican looking ahead, if you know somebody that's not registered to vote, please have them do so. We have 30 days before the election. You'll have a chairman's newsletter on productivity and getting things done. We had some good medical freedom resolutions that we did not have time to get through. As Senator Cash said, that it's a very complex topic, so we will likely have a special Zoom call meeting to approve those once we do that. We have 2 people from the SCGOP who have asked to come to our business meeting, one to talk about the topic of vaping, and the other to talk about election integrity. Last, we will continue doing efforts to search for bigger space for coffee and politics, as well as perhaps a new bi-monthly meeting space. I don't know if a lot of you follow the economic news, but there's a lot going on that's concerning. So as we move into, perhaps a more recessionary environment, we probably want to look for economical places to hold business meetings. And then, yes, the last thing that we're making sure of, thank you, Tommy and Mike, is making sure we get every precinct that has signed the database agreement, their regular voter list, and the new voters list, which is very helpful. So I think that this time is running out. So thank you all, and with that, we will move to the executive committee report from Jeff Davis. And would you like to?
Thank you, Yvonne. How's that? Does that work? Okay. Up on the board, we did have the most recent state executive committee meeting this past Saturday down in Columbia. These are quarterly meetings. Yvonne is correct. We did get notification a couple weeks ago that we were going to have the meeting, and then a couple days, maybe 2 or 3 days before the meeting, we actually had received an agenda and the meeting minutes from literally 90 days prior. So look at the state party. The state party has resources, they have money, they have paid employees, and even they were not able to get the meeting minutes out until a couple days before the most recent state quarterly meeting. So, I mean, we are an all-volunteer organization. I appreciate the fact that there's a ton of people working really hard to get it out there, and I think we ought to show a little bit of grace and a little bit of thank you to the people who have been doing it. So thanks to the board, thanks to everybody for working hard. We did go down to the meeting on Saturday. Myself, Yvonne, Mike Bowden, we rode down with Dan Harvell. I did notify the state party that I was coming, and that I felt it would be a violation of my civil rights and a violation of state and federal election law. But when I did arrive, did have the opportunity to speak to a few executive committeemen prior to the meeting. They thanked us for what we are doing and the agenda and how we're pushing this out there. Did get those thanks. But when I did go to check in, they did have the police officer come and ask me to So I'm glad some people appreciate it, but from my perspective, obviously it was a checkbox. We had to do it. I do not want to stand in front of a judge or a criminal judge at some point in time in the future. The judge asked me, well, Mr. Davis, did you actually try to attend the meeting? So I am going to show up, and they are going to ask me to leave every single time, so I will have checked that box, so the judge won't say, well, you didn't try, so don't worry about it. Because I do believe this is a violation of state election law, federal election law. And at some point, it's all going to come home on what's going on here in the state of South Carolina, and certainly on the national level, what's going on with Donald Trump. So that's what we're pushing to do and to expose. So I'd like to thank Mike Bowden for going. It was a suggestion from some other ECs. He knows the other parties. He's been in there, so he was able to go in and take some good notes. But I'm going to read the notes to you about what happened at that meeting. There hopefully will be some more information coming out as we kind of, this was just a couple days ago, 2 days ago. What we do amongst the executive committee members, we all email each other our personal notes, and we then come up with it, because obviously we're not going to get the meeting minutes for probably another 3 months before the December meeting. So what I can tell you, they announced that the Elephant Club has 1,506 members. Major donor goal, again, major donors. That's who the state party is listening to. The major donor goal is $400,000. They're currently at $300,000 with a promise of another $120,000 to come, so they should make that goal. But the recurring donors, small dollar donors, $72,000 of small dollar donors and about $10,000 a month. So that $10,000, you're talking 120 plus 70, so you're talking under $200,000 a year that is coming from small dollar donors, and you're talking over $400,000 a year coming from large dollar donors. Who do you think is moving the agenda? Who do you think is getting their listening to?
Big business, big pharma.
Big business, somebody that's writing $50,000 checks. And Drew McKissick talked about that at the Dorchester meeting back in, I think that was April. The state party is looking to promote auxiliary groups. That is counter or certainly outside of our local parties. I think they see the fact that our movement, the MAGA America First movement, is growing steam within the local parties all across the state. So their solution to that is build paid groups outside the party. They do have to have some training. They are going to be hosting another one of these First in the South action conferences in Myrtle Beach in December. They do want to, again, promote new clubs. Legislative wins Heartbeat Bill and the ESA School Choice Bill, which has a proponent of private K-12 school choice. That ESA bill is not going to help one kid until the 2024 school year. Next, partisan things they're looking at, partisan registration and judicial reform. I'm very excited about judicial reform, but we're not really interested in partisan registration. We want closed primaries. We don't want partisan registration. Partisan registration will just tell everybody, Drew McKissick and the such, these people are Republicans, send the donation letters to them as opposed to the Democrats that you might be wasting a 55-cent stamp on. We want closed primaries, and that's what we'll be pushing. There is concerns about open primaries, ranked choice voting, instant run. You're hearing about this in a lot of the other Democratic states. That's not what we want here. There are some interesting 14th Amendment challenges to Donald Trump running for president, and apparently there is a Texas man suing the state of South Carolina over this particular issue. I haven't looked up the case, but I'm very excited to see it. There will be a presidential debate before the February 24th primary, presidential primary. We do not know the location yet. There is a national initiative called bankyourvote.com. You've probably seen some ads for that the RNC is doing. I'm a support. If the rules are we get to vote 2 weeks before election, I don't like it. I want same-day voting and I want paper ballots. But if the game is we got to get people into the polling locations. Randall needs to be taking people to the voting to University Ridge 2 weeks before and just piling people in there. That's the game. That's the rules. We need to play the game by the rules that we've got. So that's a big thing out there. There is something new that we are getting access to. Is the quarterly new movers list. So the RNC, from a national perspective, is able to say when people move in and out of a county, or certainly more apt in or out of a state. So we will be getting that list. We've gotten our first list so far. It's about 5,000 names of new people that have moved into the county of Greenville. We wanted to get that on a quarterly basis, and State Party is going to provide that to us, actually coming from the RNC. There's a lot of local elections. They were brought up. But let me tell you, I mean, don't forget Randall Fowler. I mean, I assume not white is going to be a hold. We do not need a far-right leftist mayor of Greenville County, that's for sure, whether you like not white or not. But if we can get Randall Fowler elected, that will flip the city of Greenville from Democrat control back to Republican control. We appreciate Randall stepping up. We appreciate Deb McCauley for all she's been doing in promoting him. But if you know anybody in the city, if you can get people out, get them out early, get them out and vote. But we've got to flip that around, and we hopefully have a good opportunity about that. Only Trump and DeSantis have paid their $50,000 fee. The deadline for that is to be on the presidential preference primary in February. $50,000 fee. That goes to the state party. It's amazing. So who knows where the extra money is going to come up. But the deadline for that is October 31st at 5 p.m. But only those two candidates have done it so far. There's a grassroots video and poll watching that's coming out. April 24th of 2024, mark your calendar. That is going to be the date of our 7 congressional district conventions. That's when we will elect a new 4th district chair. That's when we elect a new 3rd district chair. That's when we will elect delegates to go to the national RNC convention. So there's a lot of activity and a lot of kind of calculation. This is like the state convention, but it's going to be just for our local congressional districts. Greenville being fortunate enough, we've got 2. We've got the 3rd district and the 4th district. So that'll be coming up April 24th. State rules allow us, this is an interesting thing in development as well. We've always been nervous or not wanting to go out and endorse, certainly from a leadership perspective in the party, endorsing candidates in primaries. Drew McKissick in the state party is now telling us we can do that. You are seeing a lot of people saying, you know, so-and-so chairman of XYZ county endorsing Tim Scott or Nancy or Nikki Haley or Donald Trump. That apparently is allowed. We are, you know, I kind of look at it as a trap. We don't want to do anything wrong. We want to follow the rules precisely. So we're going to get more information about that. But you are seeing that, and I think we'll be able to do that. My hope, and I was interviewed by someone from the press today, my hope is certainly as it relates to our county council endorsements of next June, my hope is the party, Greenville County Party, will be able to endorse challengers to the 4 incumbents that we want to remove.
Yeah.
That was that we should refer to our county party rules as well.
Right, and as Bob points out, the caveat to that is we need to refer to our county party rules. So if the only determinative issue is going to be our county party rules, and if our county party rules have some issues there, which they may, maybe all we have to do is amend those county party rules.
Right.
We as a body can do that. We get 2/3 of the ECs to show up, which it doesn't seem to be a problem, and we go ahead and vote that. I think that would have hopefully universal support within this executive body. Interestingly, you know, the SCGOP finance chair, our national committeeman, was unaware of what ERIC is. He was giving an update on election integrity, and the honest question was asked, I think by Von Julia, what their position was on ERIC. Well, ERIC is the, you know, everybody knows ERIC. Everybody here knows ERIC. He was unaware of what ERIC was. So Drew McKissick jumped in, saved the day. ERIC is the voter database that we all, on a whole bunch of election information that a whole bunch of states are trying to get out of. There is legislation that gets South Carolina out of it. I believe there is, Harrison, but it's certainly on our legislative agenda to take the state of South Carolina out. What Drew McKissick did state, or they did state at the executive committee meeting, is there is a move on to have a similar type thing for southeastern states to be able to do that. I don't know if I support that either, but we'll see. We'll see how that develops. But I just found it interesting, the out-of-touchness of what I think some of our senior leaders are out there. South Carolina illegals who have work permits can get driver's licenses in the state of South Carolina. That's what was reported at the meeting. So be aware of that. These are other issues.
Do they get voter too?
Yes, voter too. I mean, this is the types of stuff that we need to fix on the state level, and then we can also push back on the county level. If we had a county council that was willing to fight the fight on some of these issues, we could get things passed on the county level that would actually help push some of this stuff back. But I don't think if we put anything up in front of our current county council, they would support that, you know, from what we as a party, certainly as what the platform would like us to do. Marlborough County dropped in absentee voters, you know, based on the new election integrity bill. There were 32 resolutions submitted, 8 were passed en masse. I will send that out instead of going through them. But what was of interesting note, Lexington County had censured their senator, Katrina Shealy. She's one of the 3 sister senators. That was a great thing to do, but for some reason, that censure motion did not come up to the state party to be voted on. Why is the SCGOP, when the #1 issue is life, as Senator Cash stood up here and talked about, why is the SCGOP not going harder after the 3 Republican female senators that voted against the heartbeat bill?
You're right.
That's what we need to be focusing on. There's a new minority outreach program, independent chairpersons on each. That, you know, we'll see how that goes. I've seen them, you know, stop things like that in the past. There is a first vice chair. It was an interesting conversation. Some counties actually give a vote to the first vice chair in their county rules. It's not a consistent on the state party side. The state party's first vice chair does get a vote on the state executive committee. So there was a vote, a rules change. I think it's temporary. Maybe they'll change that, you know, the permanent rules at the next convention. But to give the first vice chair, if they're not already a member of the state executive or the county executive committee, a vote. Doesn't really apply to Joe Dill. He's already a member as the EC for Tigerville. I'm thinking Timberlake. For Tigerville, so it doesn't apply to him. You don't get 2 votes, unfortunately.
Did they say that? Because normally that's how it would go. He would get a proxy for someone else.
Well, that's another rules issue that we got to figure out exactly. Because I've heard both. I've heard other ways.
Clarification: it is not a law in South Carolina in the moment that if you have a worker's permit, you can get a driver's license. But there's a movement to make that happen.
So it's not the law.
Yes,
But there's a movement to make it happen. That's with the driver's license worker's permit. We'll figure out exactly what the situation is, whether you get to. So, but you know, Yvonne Julian's she's the executive committeeman for her precinct, but she's a chair. Does she get a vote? You know, she's not voting at all.
So she should
That's
be
it.
giving her proxy to someone else to vote.
Okay. Well, and if that's the right way to do it, that's the right way to do it. We'll figure that out. There is a Lindsey Graham event in Pickens, Oconee that they did announce that. But I will tell you, what's very interesting Even Hope Walker, the executive director of the state party, talked about this. There is a lot of internal county battles all over this state. It's not just Greenville. It's not just here in Lexington and stuff. It's everywhere. The fires of liberty are burning everywhere.
Yes.
People are standing up. People are standing up and they're saying no more. They don't want to follow the rhino establishment, the old guard. They want to push what is in the platform. They want to push the Ten Commandments and they want to push the Constitution. We're not sitting here taking it anymore. And actually what the Hope complained about was the fact that she spent more time trying to mediate some of these issues and concerns, and she's not able to get out there and fundraise like she would like to do and do some of these other things. It also bogs us down internally here. So I will tell you, one of the solutions and some of the things we talked to with some of the other county ECs, and it was on the calendar. We'll send out an email about this. But we're on Saturday at the Taylor's Library. We are going to host a town hall. Okay? So if anybody's got issues or concerns, come and talk to us. I volunteer all the time. I'll show up anytime, anywhere, any place, any conditions, I'll sign any release, whatever. I never get taken up on it. So some people have advised me, they're like, well, just schedule one. See who shows up. So if you'd like to show up at the Taylor's Library on Saturday, we'll be there, address your concerns, and we'll deal with that. But the other actual discussion that I thought was very interesting, and it's under Robert's rules, is there is something called a committee for discipline. We have decided and set up a committee, a conflict resolutions committee. But guess what? Some people have gotten involved in it or whatever, but most people aren't even walking in the door to have their conflicts resolved. I send emails, I call people, I text them, they don't even respond. We sit there and send all the information for the emails back. What are you missing? Tell me what you're missing. We don't hear back. So there is this type of activity does not happen in our state house. You do not see House members getting up there shouting from the well or Senate members shouting from the wells because they have disciplinary rules, things of that nature. So it comes under Robert's rules. Several other counties have this, a committee on discipline. So at this point, I would like to make a motion that our county chair appoint a special committee on discipline. And I'll let her appoint them, but I would suggest we appoint the members of the Conflict Resolution Committee so they can resolve some of these things. We can solve these things. I do not like coming up to the mic, explaining the budget process, and having someone walk up behind me and say I was a liar. You know what? If I'm a liar, discipline me. I talked to another county chair, a former chair, and he told me, he's like, hey, it's a two-edged sword. If you're up there saying something that's not right, then you're going to get cut by it. But if the other party is, they'll get cut. I got no problem with that. I think that is what we ought to be able to do. We should be we need to focus on getting Randall Fowler elected. That's what we got to do. So I'll make a motion that she appoints a special committee, use the members of the Conflict Resolution Committee, and then we can hopefully add this to the rules.
Point of order.
So, John Deere seconds, Sycamore?
All in favor?
There's a point of order.
Chair recognizes.
Ron Tamaccio, Furman Precinct. Madam Chairman, it appears this motion is out of order. It should be under new business. We haven't even gotten to that yet. Thank you.
You can make motions while making the presentation. So, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No. Who the hell are you? You aren't the chairman.
When we get to new business and we make his motion, since it actually should be under new business, so we will remake the motion, vote it then. Okay? All right. I know. So at this point, I would like to introduce
No introduction.
again, and we will have a reading of the motion of censure and then a vote, and it will be, we've asked for a roll call vote on that motion. So.
Well, good evening one more time. Folks, I want to let you know that we are putting action with this censure. We already have vetted candidates, constitutional conservative candidates that will uphold the South Carolina GOP platform to run against primary and remove Butch Kirven, Michael Barnes, Elizabeth Seaman, and we're working on Chris Harrison. So if y'all know some constitutional conservatives in Chris Harrison's districts, please let us know so we can put action with this censure. All right, now I'll begin the censure. Greenville County Republican Party resolution of censure for county councilmen Butch Kirven, Joey Russo, Michael Barnes, Elizabeth Seaman, Daniel Tripp, and Chris Harrison. Whereas we call on every level of government to exhibit sound fiscal management and live within its means, providing effective and efficient government with minimum taxation. And whereas we are the party of opportunity and support a tax policy designed to help the economy grow, not stunt the taxpayer or punish achievement. And whereas Greenville County taxpayers were already being stunted by Bidenomics and economic uncertainty, and whereas the above-mentioned council members were elected as Republicans to implement fiscal responsibility, which is in Article 5 of the South Carolina GOP platform. And whereas the above-mentioned council members voted for a $785 million budget for tax years 2023 through 2024, with an increase in the millage rate for the county by 7. And whereas the above-mentioned council members broke their pledge to uphold the South Carolina GOP platform by needlessly raising taxes on the people of Greenville County on June 23, 2023. Therefore, the Executive Committee of the Greenville County Republican Party hereby issues this resolution of censure regarding the tax increase votes of County Council Chairman Daniel Tripp, District 28, Vice Chair Elizabeth Seaman, District 24, Joey Russo, District 17, Michael Barnes, District 18, Chris Harrison, District 21, Butch Kirven, District 27, on this 7th day of August 2023. Madam Chairman.
So we have a motion to, we have a resolution with, can we have a motion to adopt this resolution? Okay. And could we have a second? Okay. And we'd like to have a roll call vote on this motion. So, if I could have our tellers come up, please. Okay. Do you need this?
Let's find out. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I got a big mouth. I don't think we're gonna need it. I'm good. Okay.
Can I, Paul Fleury from Avon, can I make a motion we do a voice vote? This seems like something we're all behind.
Yes.
Second?
I second it.
Yeah. Second.
By acclamation. Can we do it by acclamation, Yvonne?
Yes.
What is your motion?
Did we do a voice vote?
Can we get a second?
I second it by acclamation, voice vote.
Can we try it?
We want people on the record.
Well, let's take a vote. The body needs to vote. So if we have a second, can we have a vote on the motion to have an act, what did you?
On the record.
Okay, and what is your, so can we have, all in favor of the voice vote? Aye. All opposed?
Yeah, it looks like roll call.
Heather Sheen, EC from Clear Creek. I'd like to make a motion that we do a roll call vote.
I second.
All in favor, all opposed to the roll call vote? All in favor, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
I'm sorry, call for Avon, your mic's not on, we can't hear what you're saying, I can't hear what you're voting on, I apologize.
Okay, yes, so is it on now? Guys, ears off. Is that
There you
better?
go.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Yeah, so, I think the motion for the roll call vote has passed,
Yes.
and so we can proceed. The motion for the roll call vote has passed.
Madam Chair, they did not hear you ask for the yeas and nays.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, so we'll start again. So Heather, would you like to proceed with your motion for the roll call vote? Okay?
Okay, just to repeat, my motion is that we have a roll call vote for this vote.
I
And
second.
a second?
Susana Sarabia from Lake Precinct.
Wait, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? No. I think the ayes have it. We will have a roll call vote.
Proceeding with the roll call. Altamont Forest, James Spurk.
For it. Yes.
Hey, James.
Please reply either yay or nay, or yes or no. Say yes.
Yeah, I said yes after.
Yes, we approve. Thank you. And we're keeping track of these as we go. All right. Ashton Lakes, James Wicks.
Yay.
That's a yay. Okay, I'm gonna work this a little better. Avon, Paul Fleury.
Aye.
That's an aye vote. Baker Creek, Judith Langley. That's a yay vote. Bell's Crossing, Trevor McLaughlin.
Yes.
That's a yes. And Boiling Springs, David Bell, I'm sorry, is not here. Botany Woods, Jeannie Collins. Botany Woods, Jeannie Collins. Votes in favor. Bridge Fork, Glenn Hurst.
Yes.
Votes yes. Canebrake, Tina Bollinger.
Yes.
Tina votes yes. Castle Rock, Karen Eaches.
Yay.
Castle Rock votes yay. Circle Creek, Judith Tanzola.
Yes.
Votes yes. Clear Creek, Heather Sheen.
Yes.
Votes yes. Moving right along. Darby Ridge, Tony DiLorenzo.
Aye.
That's an aye. Devonshire, Jeffrey Brown.
Yay.
Votes yay. Another yes. Donaldson, James Hargett.
No.
Votes no. Dovetree, Brett Mercado.
Yes.
Votes yes. And let's see. Okay, East Side. Andre Brewer.
Yay.
That's a yay. East Side votes yay. Edwards Forest, Kenneth.
Yes.
Kenneth, yes. Thank you. Henry, Tom Steiner.
Yes.
Votes yes. But wait, there's more. Fox Chase, Ron Duffla.
Yes.
Votes yes. Frohawk, Tina Mock. Tiffany Mock, I'm sorry, Tiffany. Votes yes. And Furman, Ron Tamaccio.
Yes.
Votes yes. Gowensville, Steve Bones. Votes yes. And Grays Branch, Frank Gunter.
Yes.
Votes yes. As I say, but wait, there's more. Greenbrier, Gregory Crum.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 1, Tim McCauley.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 3, Libby McMillan.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 4, Daniel LaGrange.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 5, Adrian Palashevsky.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 8, Robert Tiro.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 10, John Hoover.
Greenville 10, vote yea.
Greenville 10 votes yea. Greenville 14, Jason Haas.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 16, Walker Horn.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville, Greenville 19, Mike Dahlheim.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 20, Ann Cox.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 21, Elizabeth Scott.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 22, Linda Slavin.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 23, Jim Nitopsky.
Yes.
Votes yes. Greenville 24, Brenda Skip. Votes aye. We'll write that down as a yes. Greenville 25, Griffin Callahan. Votes yes. I did ask you to say aye, actually. Thank you. Greenville 26, Deanne Barton.
Yes.
Votes yes. Okay. And Grove, Jane McJunk, no, Grove's gone. Hillcrest, Austin Higgs.
Aye.
Another yes. Holly Tree, Linda Young.
Yes.
Votes yes. Kilgore Farms, Bill Hogan.
Yes.
Votes yes. Laurel Ridge.
Yes.
Julie, yes. And Leewood, Paula Gonzalez.
Yes.
Yes. Locust Hill, Keith Jones. Yes. Votes yes. Marydell, David Durling.
Yes.
Votes yes. Malden 3, Dan Beaver.
Yes.
Votes yes. Malden 5, Anna Helms. Votes yes. Malden 7, Jennifer Black. Jennifer Black. Okay. Let's call that an abstention. Moore Creek, Diana Weir. Diana Weir.
Yes.
Yes. Mountain View, James Hort. Votes yes. Neely Farms, Christina Mills.
Yes.
Votes yes. I'm detecting a pattern here. I hear you. Oakview, Liza Cheney. Elisa. Yes. Sorry about that, Elisa. O'Neill, Tamara Allen.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, yes, it's you. Palmetto, Gene Owenby.
Yes.
Yes. And Paris Mountain, Lenore Skelton. Yes. Pebble Creek, Terry Brown.
Yes.
Yes. Pelham Farms, Gene Tennant.
Yes.
Yes. Piedmont, Steve Hudson.
Aye.
Another aye, a yes. And Poinsett, Donald Crane.
Yes.
Votes yes. Ranch Creek, Paul Gorski.
Yes.
Votes yes. Riverwalk, John Murphy.
Yes.
Yes. Riverside, Jennifer Wiles. Riverside, Jennifer Wiles. Abstain. Rolling Green, Jamie Barnes.
Yes.
Yes. Royal Oaks, Bill Riley.
Yes.
Yes. Saluda, Deborah McElmore.
Yes.
Yes. Did I get your name right? One in a row. All right. Sandy Flat, Edwin Maloney.
Yes.
Votes yes. Severe, Cynthia Lenderman.
Yes.
Votes yes. Silverleaf, Tracy Romano.
Yes.
Yes, we're neighbors. No, we're not. So we're neighbors. We're still friends, though. All right. Simpsonville 1, Sherman Jordan. Yes. Simpsonville 2, Albert Brilliant.
Yes.
Votes yes. Simpsonville 3, Cynthia Horner.
Yes.
Yes. Simpsonville 4, Jerry Tuso.
Yes.
Votes yes. Simpsonville 5, John Clark.
Yes.
Votes yes. Simpsonville 6, Harrison Musselwhite.
Yes!
Say that again, please.
Yes!
That's what I thought. Slater Marietta. Terry Atkins.
Yes.
Votes yes. Southside, Yvonne Julian. Votes yes. And Super Mill, Terry Wicker. Votes yes. Sugar Creek, Amy Panosian.
Yes.
Votes yes. Sulphur Springs, Daniel Healy.
Yes.
Votes yes. Sycamore, Scott Gear.
Yes.
Votes yes. Tanglewood, Hugh Means.
Yes.
Votes yes. Taylor, Sarah Curran.
Yes.
Votes yes. Thornblade, Susanna Saravia.
Yes.
Votes yes. Tigerville, Joseph Dill.
Yes.
Votes yes.
Both of us.
Wait, are you a Democrat? Sorry, folks, return to order. Where was I? What's your read? You Tigerville? Okay. Timberlake. Alan Stanion?
Yes.
Yes. And Trade, Victoria Covert? Trade? Yes. Travelers Rest 2.
Yes.
Rose Jean Gates, yes. Tubbs Mountain, Gregory Peck?
Yes.
Votes yes. Madam Chair, at this point, can we call it an acclamation? Okay. Tiger River, Liz Nakumovich?
Yes.
How'd I do? Close? Wow. Birdmont, Angela Fisher? Votes yes. Wade Hampton, Dylan Peters?
Yes.
Yes. Walnut Springs, Ruth Fabiano?
Yes.
Yes. Ware Place, Julie Hershey?
Yes.
Votes yes. Wellington, Philip Bradley?
Yes.
Votes yes. West Cliff, Roger Whitley?
Yes.
Votes yes. West Side, Joe McLaughlin?
Yes.
Votes yes. Woodmont, Martin Fraser?
Yes.
Votes yes. Woodruff Lakes, Wayne Middleton?
Last but not least. Yes.
Yes.
One more.
You sure you're last? I'm not sure that you're last.
He can be last.
That's it for precincts. Does the executive committeeman care to cast a vote?
Yes.
The executive committeeman votes yes.
Point of order.
Chair recognizes
Ron DiMaccio, affirmative. Would you please check your record? I don't think I heard you say Travelers Rest 1.
You're right, I did not. We had Travelers Rest 1 as having checked out. Let me return to that. But I will call the name again to be sure. Travelers Rest 1, Elizabeth Boyle. Elizabeth Boyle has left. But thank you.
Madam Chairman, the ayes have it.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. That's right. it was a good exercise. I got to see some people and put some names and faces together. Next item of new business is concerning election integrity resolution. Chair recognizes John Clark.
John Clark, Censure. Madam Chair, I move that we adopt a resolution titled "A Resolution Supporting Paper Ballots and One-Day Voting" that has been distributed in advance to the body, and that reads as follows. It's also on the screen. Is it on? Okay, good. All right. A resolution supporting paper ballots and one-day voting. With assistance from the resolution passed by the Spartanburg County Republican Party in April of 2023, whereas the South Carolina State Election Commission and county election officials have unconstitutionally partnered with federal and state agencies and nonprofit organizations. In 2018, an agency under the Department of Homeland Security called the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, partnered with CIS, the Center for Internet Security. CIS provides cybersecurity services for state election entities. South Carolina county election officials signed memorandums of understanding with CIS in 2018. CIS installed Albert sensors to monitor voting machines 365 days per year, whereas these actions have taken perilous control of the voting rights of the citizens of South Carolina and have systematically worked to federalize our elections. Federal involvement in our state elections is in clear violation of the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Whereas the 10th Amendment prohibits Congress from commandeering the states, that is, directly compelling them to enact or enforce a federal regulatory program. Elections designated as critical infrastructure by DHS on January 6, 2017 was never authorized by Congress. Therefore, the decisions taken by the State Election Commission to foster these federal partnerships and use them in conjunction with the election machines is in clear abdication of their 10th Amendment responsibilities. Reference pages 4 and 5 of the reference link. Whereas the State Election Commission and county election officials' partnership with both state and federal agencies violate the privacy of the citizens of South Carolina, Privacy Act of 1974, South Carolina Constitution, Article 1, Section 10. Whereas certification standards put forth by the federal government under the Help America Vote Act law by the Election Assistance Commission states all electronic voting machines, wireless or connected to the internet, have been shown to be susceptible to manipulation through internal or external intrusion to alter votes and vote tallies, and therefore the voter cannot trust the accuracy of their vote, violating 52 U.S.C. Section 10307A. Whereas the State Election Commission has introduced a policy last year to exclude connected services and vendor systems from citizenship validation or from citizen validation and verification in the scope of its vulnerability disclosure program, reference link. Whereas voters in South Carolina cannot prove their vote is being counted properly using the current electronic voting machine system, and under state law, each registered voter in this state has the right to vote and has his or her vote accurately counted as provided for in South Carolina Constitution, Article 2, Section 1. Whereas many countries have stopped the use of electronic voting machines, including the Netherlands in 2007, Germany in 2009, Ireland in 2010, Japan in 2018, Canada, France, and the United Kingdom and Switzerland use hand-counted paper ballots. Whereas the system of manually counting paper ballots, which has been used for centuries, enables the observers to easily ensure their votes are accurately counted. South Carolina Constitution, Article 2, Section 1. It is in the best interest of the voters in South Carolina to place accuracy over efficiency, and let it be resolved that the Greenville County Republican Party opposes any further use of ballot tabulating machines and supports moving back to hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots and one-day voting. Therefore, be it resolved that the GCRP requests the South Carolina Legislature, Governor, and the State Election Commission to abide by South Carolina law and the will of the people to use their authority to prohibit the use of ballot tabulating machines in the state of South Carolina. We urge instead the ballot tabulating machines be replaced by the manual human tally of paper ballots produced by the current State Election Commission ballot marking device to ensure his or her vote is accurately counted in accordance with the highest and best manual count standards, procedures, and devices in use prior to the introduction of ballot tabulating machines or at any time internationally per South Carolina Constitution Article 2, Section 1. Elections to be secret ballot, protection of right of suffrage. All elections by the people shall be by secret ballot, but the ballots shall not be counted in secret. The right of suffrage, as regulated in this Constitution, shall be protected by laws regulating elections and prohibiting, under adequate penalties, all undue influence from power, bribery, tumult, or improper conduct. 1970, 56, 2691, 1971, 57, 319. One-day voting and voter identification required. Therefore, be it also resolved that United States Republican Party Executive Committee adopt this resolution.
Thank you. So we have a second to the motion. Now, is there any discussion?
Madam Chairman?
Chair recognizes
Elizabeth Scott of Greenville 21. First of all, this is an outstanding resolution. Let me start with that. As a poll clerk, I run a poll that we have 600 to 700 voters in a single day. So I'm supposed to have 12 workers. We end up usually with about 6 to 8 workers. And so the process that we have in place currently allows me to see all the moving pieces and allows us to ticker tape the count at the end of it. So the only thing that I would like to change is I would like for them to still use the scanner, but then I would like to recount and compare to the scanner ticker tape. When it scans the ballots, it actually physically says on the ballot who the names are that you have just voted for. And according to this resolution, we're still using
come to order, please.
According to this resolution, we're still using that ballot marking device. So we're still checking in the same way, according to this resolution, and we're still using the ballot marking device. The only step that we're skipping is that scanning, but human error is human error. So if we scan and then we also require manual counting to compare and make sure that the scanned number is accurate, then we can be sure that everybody got their vote, right?
Right. Do you have any comments, or is that an amendment that are you done with the amendment?
So in order to do that, I have a couple of amendments to make. So under let it be resolved that the Greenville County Republican Party opposes, I want to change from any further use to exclusive use of ballot tabulating machines and supports moving back to hand-marked ballot, well, first of all, we were in contradiction here. So we're not talking about, if we're talking about ballot marking machines, that's a device. So that doesn't go with hand marks. We need to decide what were we trying to accomplish.
Internet connected devices.
Yeah. So
okay, so and supports moving back to hand counted. Let's just mark out hand marked because that doesn't go with the rest of the resolution. Hand counted paper ballots and one-day voting. So that's one piece of that. And then the second piece of that is under the next step. I'll just read through to the change because it's a couple lines down, but it'll make sense that way. Therefore, be it resolved that the GCRP requests the South Carolina Legislature, Governor, and SCSEC to abide by South Carolina law and the will of the people to use their authority to prohibit the use of ballot tabulating, the exclusive use, so we have to have that word in there again, exclusive use of ballot tabulating machines in the state of South Carolina. We urge instead the ballot tabulating machines be enhanced by a manual human tally of the paper ballots produced by the current SEC ballot marking device.
Do you have a further debate on this comment on it?
That would be an amendment.
Right. Okay, so do we have a second? Do we have a motion on that amendment?
Is there a second to the motion?
Motion.
We would need a second if we were going to do that.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Or a second on the amendment?
Second, Sarah Curran, Taylor's.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment? Or the discussion, I'm sorry, yes, go ahead. So we can have a discussion on the amendment. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, Scott here from Sycamore.
Okay.
I don't agree with making any changes whatsoever.
Right, microphone, please.
Scott here from Sycamore Precinct. I don't agree with changing anything within the resolution. I like it to be voted on as is. The reason is on the tabulator reads a barcode. And I know that everyone in this room cannot read barcode. So your vote, you don't know what you vote for. You're voting, the barcode is actually being scanned in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've seen hundreds of these, so I can help you. So the ballot marking device, so when you, let me just explain the process for those who really just vote and they don't actually do what we do. So you go in and you present your ID, we confirm your picture and your address and your signature even in a machine. And then in that machine, we put a blank piece of paper with a particular cut. And if it's not a perfect cut, it won't even fit in the machine. But we put that particular cut in there and it gives that ballot, yes, a barcode. But that barcode is the barcode that tells you what your ballot's gonna look like, who you're voting for. So which positions you're voting for, that's what it tells the next machine. You take that ballot to the next machine and that next machine reads the barcode and that barcode says they're voting for county council number whatever, city council number whatever, these particular positions, and it presents to you that ballot on a machine. And then you select your people that you want to vote for and you confirm that on the machine. When it prints out, there are names written on there, and what you're supposed to do and what we teach the voters is read your ballot and make sure that's who you intended to vote for. Because if it's not who you intended to vote for, you can come back to me as a poll clerk and say, this is not the ballot that I intended to have. I can go into the system and spoil it and write spoil on it and spoil it, and then I can print another ballot for you. And then you can go through the process again. And when you're able to read all the correct names on your own ballot, then you're taking it to another device. And yes, that second machine did put a barcode on it, but you're taking it to a second device that is then reading that second barcode. But it still has those names. So just as you used to go to do a paper ballot and you would mark the names that you wanted, and then you would have, now I don't know, I've never seen it done like this here. I know what it looked like in Ohio when I was young. They seated, the way they did actually paper counting is they seated Democrats on one side of the table and Republicans on the other. And a Democrat and a Republican worked together to count those ballots and decide who everybody voted for. So we're gonna have a lot of manpower to do this, and I'm all for it because I think that will really enhance our Republican Party to have that much manpower. I think it'll do us a lot of good to sit across from the Democrats, honestly. However, having said all of that, yes, all it is instead of a little bubble that you put in on something, it's now printed with a name on the ballot. Does that make sense?
Well, possibly.
Well, that's what it looks like. I know that's what it looks like because this is what I do, right? I spend 14 hours or that weekend I probably put 20 hours into this, right?
Thank you. Okay, so the chair recognizes the gentleman from Dovetree.
Dovetree, Brett Burkout. I'm going to try to be really brief. I'm against the amendment because I think hand-marked, hand-counted is the most important requirement of the resolution. And with so much respect, I think I have to say the complication of explaining why the machines are okay in some cases is really the heart of the matter of why we don't want machines involved.
Are you speaking in favor or against the amendment? No, we'll alternate on the speaking, so, okay.
So I'm just gonna say that if we choose not to go with this amendment, then we have to amend this motion in a different way. So I just wanna make people aware that this says we're going to use the ballot marking device. That is a name of a device. And the only way you use the ballot marking device is that you use the poll book that you check in with, and then you're still doing 2/3 of the process. The only part you're not doing is putting the ballot in the scanner to do the tabulating. That's the only thing this resolution does. So you have to actually mark out that it's produced by the SEC ballot marking device.
So are you making a different amendment?
And not unless you guys vote down my amendment, but I'm just telling you that we have to change this one way or another.
Okay, perfect. So So the chair recognizes.
Tiger River, Liz. So I'm against the amendment. I'm against the amendment. Point of information, it was based on a lawsuit. So there's a lot more information in that lawsuit that the resolution.
We can
I'm sorry. The resolution is based on a lawsuit. There's a lot more detailed information how the machines actually really work. So I'm against changing the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Adrian Polishevsky, Greenville 5.
Chair recognizes.
I'm against the amendment to change in, to add in the ballot tabulation machine because there's been a recent report that was put out of the Georgia elections called the Halderman Report that has basically provided hardcore proof that the tabulation machines are completely unusable and fraudulent and ripe for fraud. The QR codes, the codes that are attached to the ballots have been found to be completely disconnected through software in ways that your experience would not have exposed you to. This stuff is going on a cyber digital level and is being manipulated in ways that we don't see at all during the actual process of voting. That's why we need to cut the machines out entirely. Anything that's doing
In favor or against the amendment?
I would like to call this amendment to question. Paul Fleury Avon, I would like to move to call this to question with a voice vote.
Okay. Right, exactly. We have a motion to call the question? Second, thank you. That was no, we're on the amendment. We're on the amendment. Yeah, so we have to call the question on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment?
No, calling the question. Call the question.
Yeah, what we just said we're closing debate. I think you made a motion to close debate on the amendment, and that's what we're asking. Yes, exactly. So all in favor of closing debate on the amendment? Aye. All opposed? Okay, debate is closed on the amendment, so now we will vote on the amendment. So all in favor of adding the amendment? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay. All right, thank you.
Madam Chairman, now for a really quick, all right, if we just strike,
Get Mike.
If we strike, if we strike, produced by the current SEC ballot marking device, if we just strike that, it might all work.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So, go ahead. So, can you restate the amendment, please?
We strike produced by the current SEC ballot marking device. If we strike that.
Okay. Is there, thank you. So the amendment, is there any debate on that amendment?
It would read, we urge instead that ballot tabulating machines be replaced by the manual human tally of paper ballots to ensure his or her vote is accurately counted. There might be a little rewording there to come up with who his or her is. But we're talking about eliminating the current SEC ballot marking device, striking that out.
Is there any debate on the elimination of that clause in the amendment? Chair recognizes
Scott Gear from Sycamore. I oppose to changing the resolution. I would like to vote on it as is.
Okay.
As is, this resolution says that we are saying two things at the same time. So we either have to accept that amendment, or we need to go back and accept the First Amendment. We're either going to do it with the ballot marking device and all the steps, and we are also going to then do a hand count of what was printed out, or we are going to do completely paper. And I'm okay with either way, but you have to go one way or the other. And so what he suggested was completely paper. So if what you want is completely paper, you want this amendment.
Okay.
Because it will now read, and as opposed to what we said to begin with, right? It will now read, let it be resolved that the Greenville County Republican Party opposes any further use of ballot tabulating machines and supports moving back to hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots and one-day voting. Therefore, be it resolved that the GCRP requests the South Carolina legislature, governor, and the SCSEC to abide by South Carolina law and the will of the people to use their authority to prohibit the use of ballot tabulating machines in the state of South Carolina. We urge instead the ballot tabulating machines be replaced by the manual human tally of paper ballots, or leaving out the next section, to ensure each vote is accurately counted in accordance with the highest and best manual count standards, etc.
Maybe some people didn't understand the reason we're trying to amend is that we right above that paragraph, we say we want to do hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. And then in this paragraph, as it's currently reading, it says counting ballots marked by machine. And those two things conflict. And that's why we're trying to amend and get rid of the conflict.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any further debate on this amendment? Okay? Call the question?
Call the question.
Buffalo or Avon?
Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor? So the debate is ended on this amendment. All in favor of this amendment? Aye. All opposed?
Wow.
Okay, next. Good job, guys. A lot of work.
So you seconded. Who made the motion?
I think she's asking me to make a motion. So we need to say.
Yeah, so is that actually correct? Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So now, all in favor of the amendment? Of the motion as it has been amended.
Right.
Of the motion as it has been amended.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed to the motion as it has been amended?
Nay.
No. Okay. Great. Very good, guys. One last piece of election integrity business. This would be to recognize Scott here, and this we can, I think, do pretty simply.
I'm Scott Gear from Sycamore. And Madam Chair, I move we adopt the resolution titled Resolution Confirming Support for Return to Excellence in American Voting and elections, distributed in advance to the body, and vote on that body by acclamation.
We have a second?
I second. I'm so excited.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Very good. Excellent. We have a move for adjournment. We have a move for adjournment.
Got a quick one.
I second.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to revisit a motion for the chair to institute a committee on discipline and appoint the 3 members of the Conflict Resolution Committee, the chair to be on that committee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
To adjourn. So I need my parliamentary help here. I need my parliamentary help here.
Joe Dill made a motion to adjourn before this motion. So let's vote on the motion to adjourn. Vote it down.
Okay, gotcha. So right. So we have a privileged motion. We are going to vote. We're going to vote on his privileged motion because it takes precedence. Okay? So we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? No. So the motion to adjourn is not passed. 2 seconds. We can't hear. Okay. So please come to order, please take your seats and come to order, we can finish up quickly. Okay. So are we straight? So please proceed with your motion.
Jeff Davis, State EC. For Timberlake Precinct, I'd like to make a motion that the chair appoint a committee on discipline and appoint the 3 members of the Conflict Resolution Committee to administer that committee.
Do we have a second? Okay. Well, we need to have debate, so.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion on the floor, so that has to be debated.
Because this office hasn't been defined to the group, can you hear me, everybody? Tom Steiner entering. I think this should all be tabled. What's that? Okay. Entering. I think this should all be tabled until the next business meeting, so we can review the requirements that we're going to be proposed to.
So you have a motion to, or make a motion?
Yeah, that's my
to table?
motion.
Okay.
We need it in writing. I'm going to add something to it. It is garbage to see this being said without any research that we can read and look at to determine if we want to do it or not. This is not the Democratic Party. We don't march to everybody's orders.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fair enough.
If you'll give me the privilege of giving just a little bit of information, so he could have moved to table that motion, so that was his option of closing it down until the next meeting, tabling until the next meeting.
Course.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that just for information for everybody, but I also want to tell what a special committee is. A special committee is something that none of you have to give authority for. Our chairman has the authority all by herself to create any special committee that she wants and put anybody that she wants on it at any time without any of our permission. So it's just a gift to you that someone's presenting it to you, just so that you know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Tiffany
Representative Brohoff?
I want to make a motion that, again, that we table this because we don't even know who the people on the conflict resolution committee are. You haven't.
Right. Come on.
Sorry. You haven't presented them to us. We don't know who they are. I think it makes total sense that we have more time to hear who those people are, have them introduced to us, and then we can talk about whether this committee should be formed.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I didn't bring my criminal background report. I didn't bring my list of things that my cousins have done so that they can be sent out by email. My point being that this discipline committee, it sounds a little over the top, like some other things that have been sent by email and whatnot. I move that we table this motion for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I second that motion to table.
Okay.
The main problem that Julie Hershey, workplace. There needs to be clarification on the committee is disciplining the ECs. Is this discipline for the ECs, the body?
Yes, it is Robert's Rules of, or there is, in Robert's Rules of Order, there's disciplinary procedures for decorum problems, so.
Okay,
So-
I think that that's out of order. So
I
think it's out of order to discipline, to have a committee to discipline the EC body, which the officers are accountable to. That is my point, okay?
Scott Gear, Sycamore. We sorely need this committee. We've all seen it, then some of us are part of it, and I support the committee.
Paul Flores, Mabon again. Could you provide some details maybe about what exactly this committee would involve? Are we voting to consider the committee? Are we voting to form it tonight?
Well,
Are we voting to ask you to form it, ask Jeff to form it, ask us to form it? Provide some details.
Right, exactly. So first, let me read the rules. Thank you, Elizabeth Jean Scott.
Yeah, there was a motion to table as well,
Right.
but, and then I'm sorry, I forgot what I was gonna ask.
Right, but before we vote on the motion to table, you need to be aware of the rule that Elizabeth Jean just talked about. The county party chairman shall have the right to appoint special committees to serve for limited periods of time for special purposes, such as, but not limited to, and then there's a list of those functions. So the motion, you vote on the motion, but I have the right to appoint the committee, whether or not the body approves the motion.
For clarification,
Yeah.
that list of things, is it disciplinary?
Yeah, please, can you come up to the microphone?
Does that list actually include discipline?
It says, including but not limited to. The wording is specifically, and there is precedent. There are other county parties that have already formed such committees. So there's no restriction.
So who polices you so when they send out emails that are nasty from our executive board members? Who will discipline them?
The entire body is subject to the disciplinary committee.
Including yourself?
The entire body is subject to the disciplinary committee.
So that includes you?
The entire body is subject to the disciplinary committee. The entire body.
Thanks, Mary.
Exactly.
So if you can create the committee, then we don't really need to vote on it.
Exactly.
I see we table the motion and go for it.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yes.
Yvonne, I'm James Sargent, Donaldson Precinct.
Yes.
Discipline Committee, since I asked you at the church to send me an email about, I've not gotten one this year, about these meetings. No, the only way I found out about these meetings is some of the people in this room are nice enough to let me know about the meetings. I asked you at the last meeting, please let me know. And I think you said, I got the idea, it's up to me to get a way to get notifications. I've never experienced that before.
Well,
but, one more thing. Discipline, at a Zone 6 meeting, I walked up to Jeff and I asked him, I said, I was going to talk about ways to canvass. And I was talking about bringing one of the county councilmen there. And unfortunately.
Do you have a motion, Mr. Hunt?
Yes, this is the second or third or fourth motion to table this till next meeting.
But that has been resolved.
It has, and the motion is what?
And the tabling motion is off the table, so to speak, because you do not need that motion to pass for me to form the committee.
Okay.
That was the rule we just read.
Are we allowed to speak against the?
No, because the motion is moved because the rule exists that the chair can form the committee.
So we're not allowed to complain as he sees about this.
Well, about a rule that exists, no. Chair recognizes Timberlake for EC, Executive Committee.
Just one point of information, the chair has the ability to form any special committee, so the chair, on her own volition, could form this committee. I'm making the motion the original motion, just to give you support from this body for setting this up. Because this body needs it, this body wants it, this body deserves it.
Hey, can we call this the question then and just vote on it?
Well,
Madam Chairman, Tiffany Mock, Frohoff Precinct. If you're saying that the motion is moot because you have the authority to establish a committee, then let's just postpone this indefinitely then and be done with it. I just make a move to postpone it indefinitely and be done.
Yeah.
Well, then let's kill it. What's the point? Why are we dealing with it?
Right, well, exactly. That was what we said. I am going to form the committee because I have the right. So,
Let's,
yeah,
okay,
that's
we
exactly.
don't need to vote on it.
Right, exactly. Exactly. That was the point. Thank you.
Can we revisit the motion to adjourn?
All right. Yes, yes. Great. Somebody second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Good job.
DOJ